Elon Musk is now the world's first trillionaire with a SpaceX IPO. Absolutely incredible showing. It's actually up 30% from the initial price that they were offering, which is nuts because they were pricing it at nearly 100x revenue. So it's 135 a share. It's currently, as of recording, about 173 per share. Massive. And yes, there are many liberals and Democrats that are angry. There are people posting they said Elon Musk is the world's first trillionaire. Let's make sure he's the last. Robert Wright called him a con man with a Ponzi scheme or something to that effect. Elizabeth Warren is like, we got to tax these people. They are just upset that he is launching this company the way he is. But we're going to go through the beginnings of SpaceX, where he's at now, and we're going to talk about what it means to be a trillionaire. We'll talk about that. Plus, aliens. The Trump admins dumped their third tranche of UFO files. And apparently, according to the New York Post, they're close to figuring out what they really are. Like I believe that. At the same time, there's a conspiracy theory around the release of this new movie from Steven Spielberg, which coincides with the release of these UFO files called Disclosure Day. And people think it's predictive programming, whatever. Let's talk about it, my friends, and we'll have fun with it. Before we get started, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Tax Network USA. My friends, do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? Have you filed every year but still keep owing? Did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you did not expect? Maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early. Now the IRS wants their share. Whatever your tax issue is, however it started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down. Penalties are growing. Interest compounds. And many of you are about to owe again for this upcoming tax year with no plan in place. Stop what you are doing and call Tax Network USA. The IRS is not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. This is where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in the business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and helps taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you got to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem, get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. Don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 866-686-1535. That's 866-686-1535. Or visit tnusa.com/10 or click the link below. Don't forget to join us, my friends, at timcast.com. Get in the Discord community. We got tens of thousands of people hanging out every single day, and they want to be friends with you. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we got Benjamin Michael.
Yeah, how's it going? Happy to be on the show here. I'm an Orthodox Christian apologist. I do political commentary as well, mainly topics around Israel and immigration. Those are the main issues that I like to focus on. So yeah, happy to be here to talk with you guys.
You're also you're a very out of focus person. You've come back into focus.
Things change.
There's a camera
Nice.
issue.
Okay, good.
Now everyone
I'm glad I'm back
you.
in focus.
You're back. We were trying to, we call it needling. We're needling you guys. That's why Brian's back.
What's up, everybody? I'm Brian Shapiro. I'm a huge MAGA supporter. I'm all in Donald Trump, ultra conservative, and I'm just looking to get Laura Loomer's phone numbers.
There's a lot of people, they don't know who you are, and they're going, oh, I like this guy. It sounds like he'll be pretty good. And then like 10 minutes later, they're going to be like, I will kill him.
No, I think that's already happened.
The rest of the boys is here.
Everybody, happy to be in it. Hi, Phil. What's going on, man?
Let's get this over with, Brian.
Let's do it.
We got the story from NBC News. 1 trillion by any other name, a trillion in words and graphs. SpaceX announced their initial public offering. Right now, I'm going to get that number for you in real time. We're going to hit refresh on this one. SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, is currently trading at $173.02, up 28%. From their initial price of $135, even Tesla is up. This makes Elon Musk, oh no, it went down a little bit. It makes Elon Musk the world's first paper trillionaire. Based on the stock value right now, he is worth over $1 trillion. And that was an estimate made on the share price of $135 per share, which now at $172. There is an estimate that he is going to crack $1.4 trillion by next year. So he's already at, I think, based on these numbers, like 1.1 or some ridiculous number. And so, of course, here's $1 trillion. It's a pyramid larger than, I guess by volume larger than the Statue of Liberty itself. That's absolutely amazing. 1.77 trillion stacked in $100 bills compared to the Statue of Liberty. Elon Musk, 1.7 billion. A Tesla Model X and a SpaceX Starship. I guess that stack right there of hundreds is $1 billion. Isn't that crazy? Wow. So remember the Dark Knight with Joker, and he jumps off that big pile of cash. So those are hundreds. That was like $1 billion. I don't think people understand the scale of money. So that's it. And, what can we expect? We got Elizabeth Warren. You know, we love her. She says, Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire. The typical American household would have to work more than 11 million years to make Elon Musk's level of wealth. We need a wealth tax. We got Robert Reich. You know, you love him. He calls it a galactic ripoff. Tomorrow's IPO of SpaceX could turn out to be the universe's largest Ponzi scheme, and you and I are paying part of the price whether we like it or not, which is dumb. And there's actually a lot of people, I might pull these up in a second. I kind of wanted to avoid pulling them up, but death threats.
Great.
A lot of death threats for Elon, but you know what? He's the richest guy in the world, so I'm not super surprised by that. I want to show you this to kick things off. This is an image of OG SpaceX. Look at them in this little plastic tent with a bunch of, what do they call it, Phil?
It's a RUD, rapid unscheduled disassembly.
That's right. An explosion of an early rocket prototype. And it's actually pretty amazing to see. My response to this was, my friends, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So when Elon Musk and the team, when they bought this little space, when they started putting together rockets, it's hard to imagine that this ragtag bunch, don't get me wrong, Elon was very wealthy back then, but it's hard to imagine it would become the world's largest IPO, dominate the space exploration and technologies, and make it to this point. So outside of anything political on this, I just want to say to all of you, whatever you think of Elon, the money, all of that, just look at where he started on this project and think about where you're starting on your project right now. You too should be imagining that from your garage with your scraps, you might be standing looking over the New York Stock Exchange with $1 trillion IPO one day in the future if you keep working hard. That being said, who else is excited about this?
Look, the SpaceX IPO has created 4,400 millionaires other than Elon Musk, 400 of which made over $100 million, right? So it's absolutely a good thing for the whole country. Right, SpaceX is the only game in town when it comes to getting cargo to space. They're constantly sending satellites into orbit because of the Falcon 9, right? Like even the Falcon Heavy, which is the only thing that can carry big, actually large objects into space. They're constantly relaunching that. Elon Musk is on the cutting edge of reusable rockets. He's the first person that thought that it could be done, and not only thought that it could be done, accomplished it. The advancements that we're going to see in rocket technology because of Elon Musk and because of his vision is going to be an incredible thing for the world. He literally installed the internet in the sky.
Well,
like
well, we did have satellite internet. He put it in low Earth orbit.
Yes, but he made it for everybody. It wasn't just something where like a company
it was for everybody.
You had satellite.
We've had satellite internet at the old studio for going way back before Starlink.
He made it.
He made it low latency.
Yeah, and he made it affordable as well. Like now, the regular person can afford it.
There's something called a BGAN, a broadband global area network, which has been in use for 20 years, and they very much do look like Starlink. They're little white squares with a stand. You prop them up. And you would get back in the day, like in 2011, I think you can get like 500 kilobytes up and down. Not really enough for anything. Actually, probably even less than that, maybe 100. Enough for doing reports and sending photographs. It would take a few minutes in a picture. With Starlink, what he did was so there's like HughesNet and things like that, which we have. You can get 20 megabits up and down, but it's high latency. You can't game on it. And there's a delay because the satellites are in high orbit. The issue with low orbit satellites is they have to go very, very, very fast, which is very expensive, and they got to be replaced a lot. So nobody wanted to do it. He figured out how to make it economically feasible with his team and everyone at SpaceX. And now, when we're flying on planes, you have 100 megabit up and down because of Starlink. It's incredible.
And it's worth saying, at least, anyone that's angry at Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk doing these incredible things has no negative effect on the average person.
Yeah, but the reason why people like me and others, I have little respect for somebody like Elon.
Little respect.
So here's why.
Is that? I just want to be clear. You have
because he's friends with Trump.
You have little respect for Elon Musk.
So obviously he's made a lot of money for himself, and he started with nothing. In that aspect of it, I certainly have respect for him. But I think maybe take some of that money, being the richest man in the world, and maybe pay us all those $5,000 Doge checks that you promised. Maybe be a better father.
No, shut up, dude. I have little respect. You're talking about his. It's such a clown show. You're just like, well, Elon Musk is a bad guy, and he should. I don't like the way that he raises
have a laugh
his kids.
track.
No one cares what your opinion of how Elon Musk raises his kids are.
Some people care.
No, they don't.
You don't.
No, they don't.
He can be a
no one cares.
Okay, well, if you think that a father can be a complete piece of shit, and all you care about is how much money somebody makes,
am not
then that's
interested.
pretty
I am not.
You're
interested.
not interested.
I'm not. No one is interested in your moralizing.
Disagree.
No one is interested.
Disagree.
No one is interested in your moralizing.
disagree.
Oh well, he's a bad guy, and I don't like him. And
let's-
there's all this
let's-
stuff. All you do is spew garbage narrative of that from the left. It is such horseshit.
Okay, so now it's my turn. All you do is wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7.
We've already turned to Donald Trump.
Cuck for Donald Trump. You're turning red.
You literally already
No,
turned
hold on.
already
Whoa,
turned-
guys.
already
This
turned to
is
Donald
not
Trump.
fair.
Cuck.
This is not fair. He's cucking for Elon.
I mean, he's
Anybody that
one
works
trick,
for Trump.
one trick
Anybody.
pony.
Let's be
One trick pony.
Anybody.
Elon Musk
You're a
doesn't
one-trick
work
pony.
for Donald
You're
Trump.
a one-trick
You guys are
pony.
both good. You guys are
Okay,
both.
hold on.
You guys are both making
Clown
valid
show.
points. I mean, you can criticize
I
someone's
reject
ethics
that.
and criticize their
Yeah,
business
you don't want to
acumen.
talk about ethics because you're a Donald Trump cuck. Of course
I reject the Elon should give his money away to people.
I didn't say give it away. He made a promise
You
to the
literally
American
said
people.
that he-
Hold on. He made a promise to the American people. He talked about wasteful spending. And in that promise, he said everyone is going to get a $5,000 check from Doge. It was a failure. Admit that it was a failure. I fucked up. It was a failure. And just then
But it's not a
maybe we can
zero-sum
move on.
game.
They won't admit
would
that it was
never
a
move
failure.
on.
It's not zero sum.
He promised it. Did he not promise everybody $5,000 Doge checks?
But you're like that. He's a failure. I'm like, well,
He's not.
he
in
failed
this
on the
aspect.
$5,000.
In this
sure.
aspect, he is. I didn't
I
say
think-
in life
I
he's a
think
failure.
Doge-
So
was
Elon
a-
Musk should take his personal property, sell it, liquidate it, so that way he can write $5,000. Hold on, let me finish. You're saying that Elon Musk should take his personal property, right, liquidate it, so that way he has the cash, so he can write $5,000 checks to the American people because he wasn't able to get Doge to save enough government money to give to the American people.
Was it a failure?
It's his personal.
Was Doge a failure? Yes.
That's the argument you're making.
I'm asking you.
That's the
Doge-
no, I don't
Doge
think it
was
was,
not a
but it's
failure.
not.
how
it's
much
the
money? How much fraud did they find?
It's the argument that you're making, and don't change the,
billion?
don't change the
this says
subject.
you're not
No, no.
changing- this
Yes,
says
you
you're-
are because
No,
I'm
I'm not.
asking you a question.
This says
We're
here-
I'm
talking
asking
about-
you a
We have a
We have
question.
a live
We're-
fact check over
Yeah,
here.
We're
Elon
talk-
did not officially promise 5,000 checks. He expressed interest in a proposal originated by Doge advisor James Fishback, but clarified the distribution depends entirely on congressional
The entire
approval.
administration promised Donald Trump said it multiple times. Elon Musk spoke about it.
To be fair,
publicly.
we have been promised stimulus checks how many times, and we haven't received them.
which is wrong as well.
I'm still
I got-
waiting
I
for
got- I
Brian.
got a fact
I'm still
check for
waiting
you
for
guys.
Brian to answer if Elon Musk should liquidate his property and write personal
Well, but
checks.
can we-
Because
but-
Brian, can you answer that?
It's 100.
I will gladly answer.
Real quick, it's 110 billion in savings.
And what did they say they were going to find? What were the promises that were
Oh,
made?
I'm sorry, I was wrong. That was in year one. They were aiming for 2 trillion, but only ended up with 215 in savings. I would call that a success. I mean, like, it's the big ask, is the big sale, right? I think we're happy that we stopped spending in these areas.
So
Brian, should Elon Musk
It's not
liquidate
2
his
trillion,
property?
but I'll take what I can get.
So let me just respond to what Tim said. So
Still
what
dodging
percentage
my
of that-
question?
No, I'll answer your question, but I'm just responding to what Tim said first. 2 trillion. They got what? Maybe 5%.
215
about
billion.
5% or 10%, 5 to 10% of what they
215 billion
right,
It's like 17%,
of 2 trillion.
right.
15%.
So
Well, it's I think that would be 10.52.
Around 10%, right?
10.52.
yeah, somewhere around 10%.
Sure.
They got 10% of what they said they were or claimed they were going to find. I think that's a failure. And when you
Well,
look
was
at
that
all the
10.75?
wasteful spending, and you look at the deficit right now, and you look at this war and everything else combined in the wasteful spending, I would say
Gish Gallop.
no. They're not saving money. No, There's still wasteful
they did save
spending.
money.
They saved money.
They didn't stop all of it.
They got rid of
Got some.
290 to 300,000 federal jobs. That's a good thing because the bureaucracy is bloated. Now, please,
I'll answer your question.
Yeah. Should he write the checks? Should he sell his property? Okay.
No, I don't think he's doing that. A part of what I said was
Is that the argument you're making?
A part of what I said was a little bit facetious, but here's what I will say. I don't care necessarily about some of the stuff and the inventions. Listen, does he make great cars, the internet, and all this other stuff that we're talking about? Okay, great.
Spaceship.
Most people, the average ordinary person in this country, it is not affecting, okay, right now, what we're talking about. What I care about, everyday Americans, the suffering that they are going through, and what is Elon Musk doing with all that money and with all those inventions?
Going to space.
What is he doing to help
Selling them.
everyday Americans and their bottom line? That's what's more important.
We got two issues here, right? And it feels to me like you're trying to find a reason to be mad at Elon. If you want to separate, like Doge was bad, promises were made, we can if we chose, we could say, sure, let's go back to the building spaceships and being a trillionaire. These are separate issues.
Yeah, I just think there are probably more important things as a society.
I disagree.
In this
No.
country
Most
that we can be talking about than
important thing
spaceships.
on Earth.
No.
Well,
That's my personal
one of the problems
I don't
too is
know.
like Elon's presented himself as like this America First individual, as sort of like a political figure in recent years. So I think if we're looking at Elon as some sort of like, you know, technological titan, I think that's different than the way he's presented himself lately, which is as a political figure. Is he someone who cares about the American, success, right? The success of the everyday American, like he presents himself, or is he just a technological titan that's, you know, bringing in all these new? Because I think you can do both of those things.
I'll tell you what I think. He was there was a personal slighting by the Democrats, and also I guess a professional hindrance under the Democratic administrations. The reason why I think Elon went to Trump is because first, there was this meeting. I can't remember exactly. Maybe you guys know the details. They did like an electric car summit, and Biden brought a bunch of people in and didn't invite Elon. And I think Elon was slighted by that, with Tesla being like the preeminent electric car company. But they also launched investigations against him. And then all of a sudden, Elon is like, okay, I'm for Trump and free speech now. But I do want to stress one point. Elon Musk, in my opinion, and I think I'm going to say this first. SpaceX, I believe, is the most important company on the planet. But I want to say this about Elon. He did not buy Twitter because he cared about free speech. Maybe that was a component of it. The narrative that we get is the Babylon Bee made a joke. They got suspended. He was a fan of the Babylon Bee. He said, this is ridiculous. You can't run your business this way. Went to investors and said, they're giving money away by shutting down jokes and speech. We can turn it around. That is not, in my opinion, based on the facts, what actually happened. What I think happened is that Elon saw the Babylon Bee, was a fan, went to investors and said, I want to buy Twitter to get access to their data stream so I can build an artificial intelligence with real-time data sets coming in from 300 million users. And they said, okay, that's a moneymaker. And then he said, oh, they did something with like banning a guy too. Well, we don't want to ban people because we want those data sets for the, so the marketing we're going to play is we're going to unban people. But really what we want is just maximizing user base for the data stream for our new XAI, which we can then use to create content, win the race. It'll be brilliant. Why else would all of these companies offer up billions of dollars to buy a dying social media platform? Because Elon said, this is the data set you need for AI. It is real-time text, video, and photo. That's what he bought it for. He's integrating that now into SpaceX. I wouldn't be surprised. They might not do a merger with Tesla because Tesla's so extremely valuable.
Well, you talked about the cars, though. Were you comfortable in the White House when Donald Trump was promoting his vehicles and they'd hold a press conference?
Absolutely.
You were okay with that? So promoting other people's companies? Okay.
Please, yes.
I don't think that's the job of the president to do that stuff.
Well, we
promoting American companies is.
Yeah, somebody that's in the somebody that's technically not in the administration but that's
promoting American companies.
Going out to other countries, going to China,
he's promoting American companies.
Well, I think corruption is a big part of this administration, and I believe Elon Musk on a plane with Donald Trump heading to China, or Jared Kushner. I think I think it's beyond inappropriate.
Right. And you know what I'd give you is bailing out the auto industry is questionable. Sitting down and being like, they're great cars, you should buy them. I'm like, okay.
I certainly agree with that. But
so were you against the United States bailing out GM?
Oh no, guys, we got a problem.
What's up?
During the bailout of the Ford of Ford and the automotive industry, Barack Obama did the same thing.
Which I had a problem with back then as well.
And it was a good thing.
No,
I don't like the
no.
bailouts, but I have no problem with the president being like, these are great products and you should buy them.
Promoting American industry
have a problem with him blowing
is
up
not
kids.
a bad thing.
Well,
Depends what the bailout is. It depends what the company is. It depends the circumstance around it. But I can tell you right now that Donald Trump and Elon Musk going in a plane to China
Joe Biden did
is
it.
benefiting Elon Musk's best interest and the interest of his investors.
Oh,
Brian,
they all
I,
did.
I kind of get the feeling that you don't like Donald Trump.
Woodrow Wilson did it. Warren
we
G.
don't wanna
Harding
use him
did
as
it.
an
Give you that idea.
what concerned me was when they bought 10% of Intel. the
Woodrow
government.
Wilson is the worst.
He's literally the worst president in American history.
Absolutely.
Because they're
totally
talking about
yes.
buying.
Wait, hold on. Who?
Woodrow Wilson is the worst
Oh,
president
yeah,
in
yeah,
American
yeah,
history.
yeah. I think you even agree, right?
I won't disagree with you
It's
guys.
it's
Woodrow
actually
Wilson
hilarious
was
how
bad for a lot of
universally hated he is.
I thought you guys were going to say Jimmy Carter, though.
No.
Woodrow's probably the most fascist president we've ever had.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Miserable
call him a
fascist?
fascist. He was the closest to fascism.
You mean like totalitarian? Because that's different than
Well, he
fascist.
sold us to
I
the
think he
banking
means literal
industry.
fascism.
He
I
sold
think
us
it
to the
means
business.
like at that time when fascism was actually popular in America.
He was definitely.
Well, he got us into World War One. The main reason I don't
He
like
gave
him
us
is
the
because he
Federal
got us into
Reserve.
World War One.
Nazism and fascism were actually very
and the
popular
Federal Reserve,
ideas
yeah.
pre-World War II.
And yeah, you asked me.
Nazism and fascism were actually very popular in America pre-World War II. I think was it Prescott Bush?
Oh, yes, that's true.
Was it
Yeah.
an American Nazi?
Listen, if we're just talking about the business side of things, that's one thing. I do think ethics are also important. When you ask me about a person, you say, Brian, nobody cares about your feelings. I care about the person. Is he a family man? Is he a decent human being? And then we can talk about the business ethics and all that other stuff combined. But, Ashley St. Clair might have something to say about that.
Does his personal life discredit his work?
Your personal life doesn't always necessarily do that. And I wouldn't make that point. But I will say, what does he do? Does he put his businesses first and the bottom line and his
Yes, he
investors
does.
first over his own kids?
Yes.
Okay, well,
That's the problem.
I think that is a problem.
I know
That's
why
my point.
that's why even conservatives have ragged on him quite a bit.
That's my point, Phil.
He's got like 30 kids with like 13
you're
baby
making
mamas.
my point for me. Now you can.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
I know. I know you're agreeing with me. I'm trying to explain to Phil that it's not always just
don't
about
care.
personal
Phil understands.
feelings.
I don't
okay?
care.
I know you don't care, but
So
you're
you can
a
stop
father.
trying to explain to me.
But you're a father. You're probably a good father, right?
I mean,
care about
I
your
don't.
kid?
It depends on if you don't like my politics or not. if
No,
you're going to
it's
say
not
I'm a
nothing.
good father.
Phil, this has
But-
nothing to do with Elon Musk politics. Let me be very clear. Okay, he has spread his seed all over the
Nothing.
country. Let me
Nothing,
finish.
Brian.
Let me explain to you, please. Give me 30 seconds.
No.
Okay. Elon Musk has already even publicly talked about this, okay? He spreads his seed all over the country. He has these women sign all these NDAs, and he's not a father to a lot of these kids. You're not like that. It shouldn't matter what I can disagree with your politics, Phil, but I'm sure I would assume you're a good father, okay? I would never attack you and say, oh, you're a bad father because you're a Trump cuck. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say the latter part of it, but nothing to do with your kids.
Do you
understand the difference?
Let me address
just
this.
don't. I don't believe you.
Okay, right, guys. I want to address this. I think it is absolutely fair and good to criticize Elon Musk for his personal issues.
Mm-hmm.
I think SpaceX is the most important company on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, those are two different things. I can respect that.
Now,
but-
Elon as a business leader has proven himself time and time again, not only effectively running these companies. I mean, he really did turn Twitter around. Like X is now very successful.
Yeah.
For all of its issues, he turned it into a money making machine. SpaceX.
I think it's dangerous, though.
What? SpaceX?
X is dangerous.
Why?
I think Blue Sky and Threads are dangerous, and
I think social media in general is dangerous. But
agreed.
Why is X dangerous?
well, first,
I agree. It is.
yeah. Well, yeah.
How's it?
Go ahead, Tim. I'll let you take over.
Well, I look at it a couple of ways. X is not uniquely dangerous in the social media space.
Okay.
But we are getting algorithmically fed and programmed by all of these platforms. There's been a ton of people complaining about the algorithm on X.
Yeah,
People
it's
on the
been
right.
terrible lately.
Yeah.
It's been horrible. lately.
You
Right,
can
because
change your own algorithm with Grok.
what bothers me is
tell it what to do, and it
I used to be able. I used to have followers, right? And I could post a non-political joke about something silly. Zero traction these days because of the way the algorithm is designed to amplify. It's always really simple. Do people react to this more than that? Back in the day, I have 2.6 million followers. So let's say before the For You tab a couple years ago, I'm at like 2.3 million or whatever. I post a picture of like a moose yelling at a rabbit, and it would get like 300 retweets, 300 comments, and people would be laughing and making jokes, being like, this is a silly thing to post. I could post a Star Trek meme. When I post things that are not politics, they die instantly. If I post Democrats are evil, 10 million views.
And I'll even take it a step further in that I'll give the New Orleans terrorist attack as an example, right? You had almost everybody on the far right saying that it was an undocumented immigrant and it was Joe Biden open border policies, the Laura Loomers of the world and others spreading just blatant misinformation. This was a guy that was born in the United States of America, and it's all about clicks, and it's all about...
That's what the community notes feature is for, and it does a pretty good job.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Hold on. He was born in America, but were his parents?
No, but he was born in America, and they were saying he came into this country illegally.
And that's fair.
I want to talk about the
Wait, did his
community
parents
notes.
come in illegally?
I want to talk about the community note.
But I want to, and put a pin in it real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to say, the legitimate criticism was that this is the after effect of mass migration. People born in this country. This is what Sweden is dealing with. They're dealing with people from Somalia who had kids, and those kids are now stateless.
Yeah.
They were born in Sweden, but they're not.
I get that point, but the point that I'm trying to make, and I think you understand, is that there are a lot of right-wing grifters on social media that were lying and saying that he was an undocumented immigrant. I want to go to your community note statement. What good does it do when you have these right-wing accounts that get community noted almost every day? Let's say they have 100 community notes in like a month, and they don't get suspended for it. There should be something put in place, and I understand X is a private business. I get that. But what good is a community note when someone gets community noted 100 times and they don't accounts don't get suspended? Nothing happens.
When you get community noted, it deranks you and strips you of monetization.
Okay, that I understand that. But
and that actually just happened to a left-wing account.
You should be suspended. If you get community noted like 20 times in a week, I think you should get suspended.
Because there's weaponized...
You're spreading misinformation.
There's weaponized community.
Yeah, exactly, because you have people that are basically sending their army of followers to community
Well, then
note
don't say something that's not true.
No, you can get something community noted. You can. This is actually a problem right now in the community note feature, because you can get something community noted just by having enough people report it as such.
But if you have
they don't file one, they flag needs, and then Grok will AI generate a false community note.
I think, in my personal opinion, when you make accusations about people and when you say things that are blatantly factually wrong, it could be medical stuff, it could be about a terrorist attack, and you do this time and time again, and you get community noted, and your account doesn't get suspended for a week or a month or whatever, I find that problematic, because it's all about views, right? It's all about, even what Tim just said about monetization, even though that might be true, you're still gaining more followers and you're gaining more popularity by saying things that are blatantly false. And
but 90% of these factual errors, there's a lot of nuance. Like the example you just gave. Okay, so yeah, maybe he was not directly an illegal immigrant, but his parents were. It's like, okay, I mean, it's still the logic still applies. So I would say 90% of these, like, there is some nuance at play here, and it's like the principle is still true, even if it's not true.
What about the Paul Pelosi hammer attack, right? We had so many people.
I'm not saying there aren't examples. Listen, there's a leftist account by the name of Junior who had all these like fake AI videos about Israel.
Wrong.
And by the way, I don't like Israel, but he had all these fake AI.
Which is also wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he got demonetized, and then he started begging Twitter to get his monetization back. Look, like that happens, right? It happens on both sides. But I feel like they do a pretty good job because, like I said, he got disciplined, and then now he's been pretty good about.
I feel like there are far more conspiracy theories out there on the right these days than the left.
But like, define a conspiracy theory, because I mean, at this point, I'm labeled a conspiracy theorist for talking about great replacement when it's just objectively true. So, like, what is a conspiracy theory anymore?
The 2020 election was stolen.
Define stolen.
Widespread proof and evidence of widespread voter fraud that can prove that the election was stolen and rigged by the Democrats.
So let's break that one down. The principal issue is Donald Trump has been relatively vague a lot.
Yeah.
It's true. When it comes to, he says it was rigged, it was obvious. When he gets asked, like when he got asked about California, he says, "Oh, you know what we're talking." So he's not giving any strong claims. So for me, for instance, I have always said the widespread fraud narrative is wrong. I said Joe Biden got 81 million votes because of ballot harvesting, which is illegal. Democrat activists were knocking on doors and collecting mail-in votes across the country. That's why they couldn't replicate it in 2024. People were at home.
So you agree that's not cheating?
So, define cheating. Do we think
is it against the law?
There you go.
Agreed. It is not, and as I've long maintained. Now, here's where it gets funny. There was I think a Stanford group that put out a claim that I was one of the largest spreaders, amplifiers, they called it, of election fraud narratives. I've never promoted those. But you know what amplified means? It means I discussed it. So
Well, that would mean I'm guilty of that as well.
Indeed, but I wonder why they didn't write it about you, because the media is fake and they lie, and this is what they do.
Okay, but
and
let's
they
talk about
launder the
lying.
information. So my point is, on the question of 2020, conspiracy theories or otherwise, there is a legitimate argument that the Trump administration actually followed through on, which is twofold. The first is that states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, there were a couple others, unconstitutionally changed the rules of the elections. During COVID, the Constitution provides that the legislative branch of a state determines how the elections are held. In Pennsylvania, the judiciary decided. In Georgia, the executive decided. And Texas filed a lawsuit to the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court refused to hear. This, I warned about, was going to create a mess. When a state files a lawsuit, it goes under original jurisdiction, meaning the Supreme Court is supposed to take it up.
Yeah.
Only Thomas and Alito said, we will hear this case. The rest refused to do it, creating contention, which I believe contributed to January 6th. Not the sole reason.
So Kash Patel promised 4 months ago that there were arrests coming and they were on the way. Donald Trump constantly, every single day, besides saying that the election was stolen and rigged by the Democrats, constantly, every single day, oh, you're going to see all the evidence, you're going to see all the proof. Now he's talking about California that you just mentioned. He has one of his own attorneys that's on it. So far in this investigation, they've only found one evidence of fraud. If people want to make elections better, for example, in California,
no one cares about fraud.
I think we all could agree that there are things that could change in California to make the elections faster, have them count votes faster, so on and so forth. But Donald Trump is saying today, yesterday, and the day before that the Democrats are rigging the elections in California.
They are.
He says, then show me and provide me evidence that could be provided.
They did it by codifying these things in law.
I'm going to
That's why you bring up the law, right? But they've codified things like
Then change the laws.
But cheating is still cheating. If you say it's fair, it's still cheating.
Then guess what? Change the laws.
Okay. They're still cheating.
That's the whole point of this.
Who won the 2020 election?
You avoid talking about the actual issues because you say, well, it's the law. And if you don't like the law, change the law.
You didn't listen to what I just said. I said if you want to change the laws and if you think there are ways that can make the elections fairer, safer, faster, I'm all for that conversation.
Change the law.
Legality doesn't define morality.
Who won the 2020 election, free and fair?
It was Joe Biden did.
Free and fair.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there was a piece written in Time magazine called "The Shadow Campaign to Save the 2020 Election."
Yes.
And they outlined exactly what they did, right?
And they called it a conspiracy.
Yes, they called it a conspiracy. Those processes that were done under the table, right, in the national election are what is actually codified into law in California. And the point is, once you codify it into law, people such as yourself can say, well, it's the law, so of course they didn't cheat. They didn't break the law. They're not cheating. It's the law. So it's the law. But you earlier were making the remark that morality and the law are different things, and you have problems with people that are doing things immorally.
So your opinion, you don't like the laws set forth in California right now, and you think it's immoral. That's your argument.
The point that I'm making is when you codify things that go again, that will change the way that votes are. We
were in a global pandemic, and there were a lot of people during that time in 2020 that weren't able to vote the way they normally. I know you don't care, but most of the country does. The bottom line is every single day, Donald Trump says that the election was rigged and stolen. He's the only president in American history.
Those are opinion statements.
Yeah.
Wait. Every single day. He says it every single day.
He talks about the election.
But this is a great
basis.
example, though. It's a great example. Like, obviously, that is an exaggeration. That would be considered a lie. What you just said.
No, it's not.
Not every
single day. You're telling me every single day.
So we can go to his press conferences and when he speaks to the media.
Okay,
perhaps
here's cheating.
Okay, perhaps. Okay. Every time he talks to the media, it appears that he's upset. You would agree that he's obsessed about the 2020 election. He talks about it on a regular basis.
I'm just holding you to your claim.
Listen, there's no reason to debate this. Trump talks about the election all the time.
Right.
Okay.
And he lies.
Cheating. Here's your cheating. Here's your cheating. You know what this is, Benjamin? That's a legal signature on a ballot in California.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday.
That's cheating.
Yeah.
Telling people that they can draw a picture of Kirby that doesn't need to match the other drawing means they have just said, signatures don't matter anymore. They claim to have voter signature verification, but then they tell you that if you doodle Kirby and then someone else doodles Kirby, but it's the same, it's just like A signature is supposed to work this way. When I sign my name, it's got a unique bend and curve and arc, and you can look at them and go, these look like the same person. What they're saying here is, as long as it's the character of Kirby, even if it's clearly a different drawing of him, that is a legal signature in California. Legality does not define morality. Cheating, if you make cheating legal, you're still cheating.
Donald Trump's own attorneys are on this. They're conducting a full investigation.
They're stupid.
If they don't find anything,
we already found it.
Okay, I understand you're showing this, signature verification. Donald Trump's own attorneys have been on this. If they
don't find anything, that's perfectly fine. But the point that we're making is they aren't going to find anything that is illegal because things like this have been codified into law.
Was the 2020 election rigged and stolen?
How many times do I have
you said
to
Joe
answer
Biden
the
won.
same question?
You said Joe Biden won, which I appreciate, obviously.
How many times do you want me to answer the same question?
Was it rigged?
My opinion is ballot harvesting should be illegal. Okay, I don't think that you should be able to go. You shouldn't do mail-in ballots. I don't care about COVID. So it was legal.
So
it
during COVID,
it was not rigged.
During COVID,
yes, Brian. Whatever you're going to say, yes.
Okay.
Yes, you should not be mailing out ballots.
So what were people supposed to do during COVID when they?
Then we have a lower number of people voting.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's actually really simple. The Constitution of Pennsylvania forbade universal mail-in voting. So when they decided they would do it anyway, it's actually a really interesting case because the GOP cut a deal with the Democratic Party that they would eliminate down ballot voting. In Pennsylvania, you could go into a ballot and click Democrat and it would all Democrat. The Republicans in the state were like, if we get rid of this, it'll benefit us in some races. The Democrats said, why would we come together with you on this law? We want a deal. And the Republicans said, how about you get universal mail-in voting, but we eliminate electronic down ballot voting or down ballot voting on paper ballots. The Democrats said deal. When the legislature of Pennsylvania came to pass this law, they hit a roadblock in that it violates the Constitution of Pennsylvania in that mail-in voting can only exist in certain criteria, absentee, pertaining to like military or otherwise. So instead of engaging in the constitutional process to amend the Constitution, they stopped and said, we're in trouble. Guys, we can't pass this law. The Constitution is barring us. They initially tried. The first process is you have to put in like 3 newspapers, the announcement to the public that you're attempting to amend the Constitution. Then there has to be a referendum on it, which means they couldn't do the deal. It would have to go to the general election, referendum to the state population. Then, if they approve it, the next election, they could vote on whether they wanted to change the Constitution. So to cut the deal through, they just went in the back room, shook hands, said, let's just do it. Get sued later and see what happens. When they got sued later in the state, the judiciary said, you're too late. It's moot. This wouldn't change the results. So Texas filed a lawsuit to the federal government citing original jurisdiction for Pennsylvania violating its constitution. The argument being, all of the states are participating in a free and fair election together amongst each other for who will be in charge of our federal government. We all have a voice in this. However, they are in violation of the federal constitutional rules and their own state constitution. They are not playing fair, so they can get a free vote for the candidate they want to rule over us. Thomas and Alito said this question must be answered. Do the states, because it wasn't just Pennsylvania, it was Georgia and I think Michigan and Wisconsin, have the authority to change the rules of their constitution in violation, of their elections in violation of the Constitution? And do the judiciary and the executives of those states have those rights as well? The reasonable conclusion based on the U.S. Constitution is they do not have that, but we've never had that question answered. To simply say that was a free and fair election ignores the fact that there's an unresolved Supreme Court level lawsuit challenging what is overtly unconstitutional in those states. So this is where the challenge comes in. These are legal interpretations, and the game being played on the left and the right the whole time is, I will do it now and you can sue me later. But let me point this out too. From 20991, the California government on elections, it actually says if the voter has dated the vote by mail ballot identification envelope, it constitutes a dated envelope. In California, citing section of the California Election Code, section 3020, so long as a ballot is received 7 days after Election Day, and they have hand dated it, proving that date, it counts towards the election with a signature of Kirby. This is not an election at all. I'm sorry, in no reality can you call an election to say, hey, we're all going to come together and vote. Everybody put your ballots forward for what we want for lunch. Don't worry, though. We have a week to get pictures of Kirby on ballots that were hand dated to prove it that they were here the whole time. That's not an election.
Well, again, there are legal avenues that Donald Trump and his administration are trying to prove that. You have an open investigation.
Whoa. I gotta stop. I gotta pause. There's nothing to prove. I proved it. It's proven. Here.
Well, then why have his attorneys not come forward and gone public on when
Conservatives are stupid.
Well, then he needs to hire some better attorneys than.
We need a better president.
Well, I agree with that as well.
I also want to point out this was your example of a conspiracy theory that should cause someone to lose their platform over. So are you saying that like Tim should lose his platform because he's pushing this information?
So I was talking about terrorist attacks, for example.
Well, but I asked you for examples of conspiracy theories. This was your example.
If you say that the 2020, which he has not said, but if you say that the 2020 election was rigged, stolen, and the Democrats cheated, and that's
is that what you're saying?
Democrats cheat.
Widespread voter fraud is the word that I used, which we'd have to prove.
Okay, so he's saying that. So should he be platformed over this?
I've never said fraud because
I'm talking about
fraud is illegality.
I said widespread voter fraud was the word that was used. You have to prove widespread voter fraud to prove that there was enough of that fraud to overturn.
But this was my whole point that got us to this direction was the nuance behind these things that you're saying are blatant lies. It's like, well, there's clearly a lot of truth, and it can be demonstrated.
I think
that you're saying we should be deplatforming people over this.
I didn't say necessarily deplatform. I never used that word.
But that was the implication because that's what we're
I got a
talking
question.
about.
I got a question.
You said lose their accounts.
No, I didn't say that.
I got a question for you.
I said there should be some suspensions and there should be some accountability if you're. That's the terminology that I was using.
So with redistricting. Right now, Inside Elections has Republicans at 1 seat away in the polls from securing the House majority. I should pull this one up because this one is interesting. So I have a question for you, but I first want everyone to see the House 2026 map. The reason why I actually don't like the default map they use is because they're actually bringing in betting odds alongside polling. So if we go with Sabato's...
I saw the poly market odds. I don't know what your thoughts on that. You know, you're a gambler. You can bet on that stuff.
Well, look, we got... Sabato's crystal ball has Republicans at 213 by the polls to Democrats 206. Cook Political Report has Republicans at 212 to Democrats 205. Mm-hmm. Inside Elections has Republicans now, went down to 215 to Democrats 206 based on the polling. Republicans are, I think, by the prediction markets, they're projected to either hold the House and the Senate or just the Senate. Mm-hmm. There is a plurality in the betting markets, about 40%, that believes Democrats will sweep, which makes no sense because taking the Senate makes no sense because they'd have to flip a Republican seat. In the scenario that Republicans take the majority, mm-hmm. and then they pass a law saying that in order to vote, you need to praise Jesus. And then Democrats all refuse to praise Jesus. And so when they go to the polling location, before they're let in, they say, do you praise Jesus? They go, no, I don't. They go, then you can't come in and vote. Would that be a fair election?
No, not necessarily.
Why not, though? It's the law. They pass a law, then it's fine, right?
What I believe is that if you want things to change, in this case, we're talking about elections, then you have to go through the proper process in order to do that.
I asked if it was a fair election to make people profess faith in Jesus before they can vote.
Well, no, of course not. That's insane.
Why not? If the law is passed, it's fair.
Well, obviously, there are laws that are passed that people aren't going to agree with.
Like Kirby as a signature, hand-dated dates, and 7 days after the election?
I have a way to rectify election.
Weird analogy.
7 days after the election, you can write a date on a ballot and put a picture of Kirby, and that's a vote?
Well, obviously, it's...
What is this, like a children's raffle for hot dogs?
There are obviously, as I've said to start this conversation, there are things that they're doing in California that I don't agree with, that I think
cheating.
Need to improve. But when you make the case that Democrats are rigging it and they're cheating and elections are stolen, unfortunately, in this country, you have to be able to prove that in a court of law.
We've articulated
hold on. Let me ask you a question. If you went to your average person on the street, men on the street, and said, do you think people should be allowed to submit a ballot 7 days after an election, hand-dated before the election with a picture of Kirby as their signature?
I don't think
they would say yes?
I don't think that's...
Why is it legal?
Well, again, you're going to have to talk to the lawmakers in California about that because they've allowed it.
You think it should be legal?
I think they should probably change some laws. Sure.
You think that is a fair election to allow people to hand date ballots after the election and submit them with pictures of Kirby?
Fair is an interesting word because, are you saying, well, wait a second, is this fair? Or are you saying Democrats cheated and it was stolen.
I'm asking you if you think
Might not
it's
be
fair,
fair,
We've
but that doesn't.
articulated-
Is it
Again,
fair in an election to come 7 days after the election with a hand-dated ballot with a signature that is a cartoon character? Is that fair?
How do we know whether that's a Republican or a Democrat?
We don't.
That's-
I'm asking if it's fair
okay.
in general. Do you think the average person who votes knows that people are submitting ballots 7 days after the election with pictures of cartoon characters on them?
There's a lot of things that people, the average American citizen, don't know. So I would
But
say
my
no,
point is,
probably not.
If you go to the average person and ask them, how does an election operate? They're going to say, we have an election day where everybody comes, they cast their
so Tim-
ballot. And then we say to them, actually, you're wrong. In California, after the election, people can fill out a ballot as long as they hand date it
Tim,
for the election.
Here's what I wouldn't have a problem with. If the Trump administration today held a press conference, let's just say, and one of their attorneys said, hey, we need to change some things. Here's why. And they presented it in a way that you are. And they said, hey, we need to pass some laws in California. We need things to change. Here's why we don't think this is fair. And moving forward for the country, for the state of California, we need to do this. That would be one thing. But that's not what they're doing.
I get it. Let me ask you a question.
You see my point.
I understand you're saying there's a legal process that's happening, but let me ask you. If the Supreme Court ruled that no state will be allowed to do mail-in voting and that all ballots must be delivered on Election Day and submitted on Election Day, would that be fair?
Well, everyone would have to abide by the same rules. So,
Every
of course,
state.
I would say that's fair. I wouldn't agree with it, right?
Why not?
But that's not what you're asking me. Well, for a lot of different reasons.
You think people should be allowed to turn in ballots after the election?
There's a lot of different reasons. There's exceptions to the rule. There's people that might have medical procedures done.
But absentee is different from universal mail.
I understand that. But if we're talking about 2020 or we're talking about now when it comes to mail-in balloting.
So let's get very specific.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court says the structure by which we have the absentee ballot system shall remain. That is, in certain circumstances codified by law, people in the military, suffering ailments, or there's bereavement, travel, will be able to submit for an absentee ballot. Those shall count. Universal mail-in votes that are hand-delivered, whether requested or not, shall be deemed unconstitutional. Ballots outside of the absentee system must be delivered and received on Election Day. Is that fair?
Well, it would be fair because everybody would have to abide by the same rules. But here's why, and here's probably where we disagree. I think we should make it as a country as easy as possible for people to be able to vote.
Nope.
And I know.
Does that include after the election?
Again, are you
I'm
talking?
asking you an honest question.
What about
you think-
exceptions like medical procedures?
These aren't exceptions.
Right.
We've already talked about absentee. We're fine
I wouldn't
with
have
absentee.
I wouldn't necessarily, unless we're talking about military and exceptions to it.
Though they always had to register for
Understood.
that, and
I
we
wouldn't necessarily
understood.
listen. I'm okay with voter ID too. Okay, I'm not one of those people that just thinks anybody that can just show up without an ID, or if we're talking about a week after the elections, I probably wouldn't be opposed to that.
Banning it or
No, just to saying, okay, you have to do it by this date, and that's it. It's done. I probably wouldn't be opposed to that.
that means Spencer Pratt would have won.
And I think we agree on this also. I just don't like the way Donald Trump has approached everything.
Sure.
Okay?
Trump aside from this, because I can.
Yeah.
You're making an argument as character, his demeanor, the things he's saying. Fine. Outside of that, I'm talking about the structure of these elections.
I don't have a problem with what you're saying.
If we said you cannot count ballots after Election Day, Spencer Pratt advances to the general.
Perhaps.
It actually means like Cisneros in 2018 doesn't advance, and the Republicans hold that seat.
Then guess what? Democrats and Republicans, perhaps you're right. Democrats and Republicans need to be able to come to the table, which, by the way, they're not really able to do on any topic these days, and say, "Hey,
I'll tell you why.
you got to be able to reason." I agree with you that California is a mess. Okay, it's part of the reason why I would rather see someone else run for president other than Gavin Newsom. I'd like to see somebody else that would be a front runner. California's a mess. They have their issues. I understand that. But you have to go through the right legal process in order to change the laws that are on the books. Right.
I think the reason why the Trump administration is not going to do these things is because Watson v. RNC is poised to be ruled upon in the next week or two, which I believe the only conclusion is, as I described, the Supreme Court will have to rule that you cannot have universal mail-in voting, and you cannot, they're going to void the entirety of California's elections outright. So the question is, and this is the Republican strategy that is on purpose. Republicans sued in Mississippi intentionally, arguing the law in Mississippi allowing for the counting of ballots after Election Day is unconstitutional. They did it in Mississippi because it means that the Mississippi solicitor is going to throw the fight. That then, when the Supreme Court rules in favor of the plaintiff, California will be constrained.
Right.
So the ruling cannot simply be you can't count ballots after election day.
Let me ask you a question, Tim, and this is going to the elections in general. I've always felt that there should not be an electoral college. I've always felt that it should be popular vote.
That's terrible.
Well,
yeah, that should not be.
Why? Tell me why one vote in Maine should not mean as much as another vote, or shouldn't mean as much as in a vote in California.
You asked. So the Great Lakes Coalition is a really great example. Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, et cetera. Ontario is a part of this as well, which creates an international barrier. Arizona tried filing a lawsuit to get access to Great Lakes water because they're an arid state, and I believe they get their water principally from the Colorado River. They couldn't do it because a combination of factors. The Electoral College is one, but the Great Lakes Coalition, which included a foreign country, blocked them from doing it. This creates an interesting example. In California, where as a single state they don't have an electoral system, we saw the inversion of this. In the drought in 2015, Tulare County ran out of water. They had surface water. But there's a problem. Tulare County had only 300,000 people. So the poor migrant farm workers, their wells ran dry because the cities, which are dense and populous, voted to take away the water from the poor people. The idea with the Electoral College was, how do we stop New York at the time, because California wasn't around, from voting away the rights of Illinois or from these other states? We need to find a way to balance out these rights. This was a contentious issue because a lot of people certainly said it should just be the people vote. And they said, here's the problem. We enter a new state into the union. And they say, I won't join because there's 3 million people in New York who are going to vote to steal our stuff. And they said, how about we then weigh this, which means you'll get a vote for president based on the population, but also the state. This means that Rhode Island, which only has one congressional seat, still gets 2 votes because states admitted for this reason need to have a power balance. Yeah. That was the point of the Electoral College. For every member of Congress, Senate or House, you will get 1 vote. So Wyoming has 3. Rhode Island has 3. The point is this. If we do not have an Electoral College system, if it is a flat universal vote, then the campaigning will only be done in L.A., New York, and Chicago, and maybe Seattle and some other cities. Smaller cities will constantly lose presidential elections, and presidential candidates will have no reason to try and convince smaller states and populations to support them. This means you end up with a scenario where you have Arizona saying, we have a bigger population than Nebraska. I don't think that's true, but like Arizona could vote, and then Wyoming loses mineral rights. So a president comes in and says, I have no reason to protect the rights of people in Wyoming because they don't move the needle for either candidate. I interviewed a migrant farm worker family, went in their kitchen and they turned the water faucet on and nothing came out. And they said, we can't drink, we can't take showers. And I said, well, now hold on. What do you mean? And they said, the drought has hit everybody and there is surface water in our county that we should be able to drink. But San Diego voted that they get our water, so we die. And I was like, well, that's messed up. How do you protect against that? And they go, I have no idea. We all voted, and there's 13 million of them, and there's 300,000 of us. So we die, I guess. The farmers got loans and drilled thousands of feet into the earth and started getting as much groundwater as they could, which was causing the ground to sink and destroy the environment, all because Los Angeles is a dense population and there's no balance of control between jurisdictions. So I'm a big fan of the Senate. I'm a big fan of the Electoral College because we are a massive nation. And I believe that if we didn't have that, this country would have broken apart a long time ago because you ain't taking my water.
Yeah. Well, I obviously disagree with you. I don't.
You think the people of Tulare should have their water taken away from them?
Of course not. But I do.
Well, then how do we balance that?
Well, in my personal opinion, it shouldn't matter what state you're in, what city you're in. One vote should mean just as much as another vote. Now, as what you talked about as far as campaigning goes, if you're running for president and you don't want to campaign in Wyoming because you don't think, it's as valuable to you because you're not going to be able to get as many votes in that state, okay, so be it.
That's why they don't care about Asians.
Brian, democracy is stupid.
Democracy, what?
It's very stupid.
Democracy is stupid.
Okay,
well,
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people.
Mob rule. What you're advocating for is just mob rule. Like if I drive my truck into a small town,
not.
Yeah, it is, because if I drive, but that's what democracy is it not? So if I drive my truck into a small town and that small town votes that truck now belongs to them, that's democracy, right?
No, democracy is. I think everybody has the right to vote in this country, and I don't care what.
Everybody had the right to vote. I cast my vote saying this is my truck, and the town cast their vote saying nope, this truck now belongs.
But there's a reason why the founding fathers did not want a democracy and spoke out against it.
Because it's stupid.
We talk about the founding fathers. We could talk about a lot of things that we agree or disagree with. The point that I'm, and again, where I disagree with all of you, I assume, Ian. I don't know what your take is on this.
He's a fascist.
You don't know me.
He wanted to make Gaza the 51st state.
All right,
I don't agree. That's a little extreme for me. I don't agree with that. But I just fundamentally disagree. I think, and let's be honest here, everyone. Republicans would probably lose 9 out of 10 elections. They would lose I know Donald Trump won the popular vote.
That's actually not true.
So in the history of this country, when it comes to presidential elections, what are the stats where?
That's not what we're talking about.
Well, I'm just talking about the overwhelming majority of the populace voting Republican or Democrat. Republicans would lose almost every election.
Brian. My ideas on these elections, I've come to them because I've already considered everything you're saying. In California, it's 2-1 Democrat to Republican, but it is largely known that Republicans don't turn out to vote. One hypothesis on the greater on the interstate compact, the popular vote interstate compact, is that if the elections do become popular vote contests, there are more blue states with inactive red voters than red states with inactive blue voters. We don't actually know how it will play out. And I think it's actually a cope from a lot of Republicans to say, oh, the Democrats are trying to cheat when it comes to the interstate compact. I think the bigger issue is instability. But there is a hypothesis where experts smarter than I have broken down. What if voter turnout increased to standard levels among California Republicans? It would jump the popular vote by an estimated 3 to 4 million votes, which theoretically could have swung those other votes, those other presidential elections you are talking about. To put it simply, Republicans in California do not vote because it's so heavily Democratic. There's no point. That's the general belief. But in states like Wyoming, there's not a same proportion of inactive blue voters. So Democrats in Wyoming may be motivated to come out and vote, but they will not outvote Republicans in blue states.
I mean, again, hypothetically speaking, that may or may not be possible, but I do also find it very interesting that when Republicans win elections, and I'm speaking in general terms here, like in 2016 or in 2024, a lot of those MAGA Republicans, those conversations seem to go away.
Which conversation?
Everything seemed to go okay in 2016 when Donald Trump won. All that, if you remember.
No, it didn't? What do you mean?
Hold on.
Trump said it was fraud.
Right. In 2000, I was getting to that.
In 2016, he said it was fraud.
In 2015 and leading up to those elections, he was telling everybody that the Democrats were going to cheat and Hillary was going to win. Then something happened. Donald Trump won a free and fair election. And then for the next 3 years, all of those rumblings and all of those conversations by MAGA Republicans seem to go away.
No. You're wrong. When Trump won in 2016, he came out almost immediately and said, I should have won by more. There was a ton of fraud. He accused the Democrats of fraud even when he won. And the Democrats accused him of being a Russian.
I got a question, Brian, and for everybody, really. How do you feel about electronic voting on a proprietary voting machine?
No, I want paper ballots.
I'd have to know a little bit more about it.
Dominion has machines that you don't know.
We all know Fox News lost almost $1 billion.
They made a mistake by
claiming that it was cheated by the Dominion machines.
They made a claim,
which, by the way, was a lie.
They had a claim that they didn't have evidence to prove their claim, so they got sued. But the reality is, if you have a machine where the code is secret and you don't know what it's doing, I believe it's a vulnerability. I don't know if it's necessarily hacking or not, but it's opportunity for hacking and fraud. So I feel like having an opportunity for hacking and fraud in our voting system is a massive vulnerability.
Hold on. I would have agreed with you on Dominion in 2020, but then a Republican bought it, and now Dominion's fantastic.
But I'm just like, I know you're kind of being facetious, but I'm still not comfortable with electronic secretive ballot counting with a foreign corporation.
I mean, I hate to agree with Phil on anything, quite frankly, but I do agree with him on this. I do think old school ballot.
Allergic to being correct.
I do believe that we should probably keep it away from the Dominion machines. I'd probably be a little bit more comfortable there. We see that headline that you just put up, which Trump falsely claims, which is every day he falsely claims something, but millions of people who voted illegally cost him the popular vote. That is a lie. If you're illegal, you are not allowed to vote in a presidential election. That is a lie. Doesn't that bother any of you
he,
guys?
He didn't say illegal people. He said people who voted illegally.
Right, but I understand that. But
Then why do Democrats not want ICE at voting ballot?
That is weird. They're trying
Sure,
to
I'll
ban-
answer that. I'll answer that because I think it's intimidation.
Of who?
Yeah, of who?
Of
If you're-
illegals?
if-
Why
Yeah.
would a legal immigrant be?
Why should
intimidated
ICE
by
be at those? Why?
Why would Democrats be afraid of it?
Well,
That's
but
the
answer
question.
my question. Why?
Yeah,
To
mitigate-
prevent
yeah,
illegal immigrants from trying to vote.
Okay, so illegal immigrants cannot vote, and I will tell you this.
So it's actually quite simple.
Can they
Then
try
no
to-
one should care.
Can they try to?
Anybody can try to do anything. Okay?
Great. So what's wrong with having ICE there?
It is okay. First of all, if you're a family,
We have guards at
I'll
banks.
give you an example.
People can't steal money from
Let's
banks.
just
so
say
we
you're
don't
the
need guards at
mother.
banks.
You know, let's just say you're a mother and you're not voting. You're undocumented and you're there with your kids that are old enough to vote. Mom wants to go with the kids and watch them vote, whatever the case may be. I would imagine a lot of people would be very intimidated and they wouldn't go there and they wouldn't vote because there are ICE agents
But
there.
Hold on.
Oh, well.
Intimidated by law enforcement?
Wait. Your example is some kids that have birthright citizenship from an illegal mother. That's your example.
Anchor babies.
I'm giving you.
That's your example?
I'm giving you examples where I have
criminals.
talked to people that would be intimidated.
They shouldn't be voting
Oh,
either,
wait,
to be
so-
frank.
So criminals
Agree.
Yeah.
stay away.
Agree.
There are
Well,
people. There are
Brian,
people that are
should-
very.
Should banks have guards?
Yeah, but
Why? But you're not allowed. You
poorly-
can't take money from a
You
bank.
can
not
take
allowed to
money.
steal.
Illegals can
no.
vote.
Where is
They
the
just shouldn't.
evidence that undocumented immigrants, so many of them are voting illegally?
No,
in
but
this country?
the
That's
argument
not
is it
the
doesn't
point.
matter.
That's not the point.
I'm going to say this. You are right. They don't vote. So who cares if ICE is there?
Do you understand the point that I'm trying to make though? The point that I'm trying to make is
criminal
that
aliens might
I
actually
think
try
I saw
and go
some
there?
stat that like 26 people voted illegally that were undocumented in this country, and I'm in 2024, and I'm trying to figure out why ICE. I think ICE agents
I
can be used in
completely
better
agree.
positions.
I'm trying to figure out why Democrats are mad about ICE agents being at a
I'm
facility.
not
when,
mad.
they don't
door to
vote.
door and rounding
so
up
I never said
illegals?
I was mad about it, but what I am saying is I can understand why some people might feel uncomfortable. Okay,
I can
Having ICE
understand
agents there.
that there are people who believe illegal immigrants are voting, and this will make them feel better. And I think the feelings of maybe these people are stupid, but if it makes them feel better, then what's the harm?
Okay, so I'll tell you what the harm is. Don't you think those ICE agents could be used in other areas in better ways to be serving this country
No.
and doing what they're doing than
Well, maybe
standing around
door to
all
door
day?
raids.
Sure.
That's true.
But my answer is no, because government is built on confidence. And if the American people in a large portion have no confidence in election, we need to restore it. Otherwise, elections stop
I
mattering.
agree.
because people don't believe them.
Undocumented immigrants are not allowed to vote in this country. Why is it I hear all the time?
I also agree people aren't allowed to murder.
Well, yeah, but how many undocumented immigrants have been proven that
How
have
many
voted?
investigations have we had?
I mean, if Donald
question.
Trump and his, you have to have evidence though to prove that somebody undocumented voted. And I'm telling
you
you,
get
I
the
think there
evidence?
were like 24 cases or something like that. And
How do you get the evidence?
well,
Maybe like a
if
lawsuit
the
or-
accusation,
lawsuit?
if the accusation is, because I hear a lot of people on the right constantly talking about, well, the only reason why Democrats want all these undocumented immigrants in this country is so they can take food stamps and welfare and they can vote.
Answer
It's
that-
Yeah,
answer
anchor
that-
babies.
answer
Yeah,
that-
anchor
Dumb.
babies.
And so they can
Brian,
change
Brian,
the
Brian, I need you to hear me.
of congressional
Conservatives,
districts.
Conservatives are led by very dumb people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to single out the Republican Party, but the Republican Party is very dumb, and they have a lot of people who are ignorant. I don't want to blanket the conservative voter as stupid. I think the politicians are evil and stupid. I think the Democrat politicians are evil and stupid. The issue is when an illegal immigrant comes into this country, under the Biden administration is a great example. He was flying them to various cities. In the census, these illegal immigrants cluster around cities, which results in more electoral college votes for Democrats, and it results in more congressional seats for Democrats. Not because they vote, but because they pad the census numbers. It's estimated that if you were to remove all illegal immigrants, Democrats could lose an estimated 4 to 12 congressional seats. So when you combine redistricting with current redistricting, with census redistricting in 2030, and illegal and mass deportations, the swing is expected to be somewhere around between like 10 to 20 seats that Democrats will lose. So one of the mistakes made, there's an organization called Third Way, and they say we debunk this. The idea that Democrats get more congressional votes or electoral college votes because of illegal immigrants is wrong, because Texas is red and they have illegal immigrants, and California is blue and they have illegal immigrants, and that's how you lie to people. This is the academic machine of lies. The reality is the illegal immigrants in Texas are known to be clustered in Austin and Dallas and Houston, which are urban districts, which doubles the size of the Democrat districts. So Democrats are gaining seats because of illegal immigrants in Texas, and they are gaining seats because of illegal immigrants in California. So to an argument, there's one reason why people shouldn't like the Electoral College, because Democrats would actually lose a lot. But the point is, conservatives, Republicans come out and they say illegal immigrants are voting. And this is the stupidest thing, because it's not true. They do vote sometimes. Sometimes they get caught. Sometimes they don't. I don't think millions of illegal immigrants are voting and swinging elections.
They're not.
But they are giving Electoral College votes to Democrats illicitly.
Again, I think of a family that has some maybe undocumented people in their family. I think of the news. I think of,
You mean a criminal?
Do you think of the chillin'?
Do I think of the overwhelming majority of ICE agents as bad people that just want to kill people? Of course not, right? But when you see the images on television and you see what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy, there are some people in this country that are very intimidated by those images and those videos, and I could absolutely see some of these people not voting for that reason.
This is literally the meme. This is literally the meme. This is, oh no, a crying baby. We can't have a society anymore.
Exactly.
Like, this is literally the meme. What are we talking about here?
I think
I'm talking about
You're
ICE
talking
agents
about
that are murdering
illegal, but
people.
you're talking
there
about
was no murder.
families that have undocumented immigrants being intimidated because they have because they are criminals. They're not supposed to be here, and we're incentivizing them to come here by giving them birthright citizenship for their children, which is also
So you're
a problem.
against birthright citizenship?
100%. I'm against the current interpretation of it
Really?
because
What's
that
your
was
problem with
the
immigrants?
author of the 14th Amendment.
Why
author
the
of the
straw
14th
man?
Amendment explicitly said it wouldn't apply to aliens, and so that's not the intention. That is what is been. That's what's.
So do you think
developed
everybody
into.
should be deported? Let's just
everyone.
All the illegals.
Nobody
Party
gets
with
to
me.
be
I'm out of here. Fuck this shit.
I believe it. Well, first of all, every illegal should be debanked. That's the first thing. That's
a great idea.
Yeah, no, that's the. I cannot believe we haven't done that yet. Yeah, so I basically have like a three-phase remigration plan. The first would be illegals, and it's very simple. You debank, and then ICE can take care of the remainder, which is not very many. Secondly, first-generation migrants, and actually I would extend this to third generation as well, because there's a lot of these communities, like in Minnesota, for example, with the Somalis, right, where you have literally like 3 or 4 generations of migrants that are here. They have not integrated whatsoever. They don't even speak English. They are not American, but they've been here for 3 generations. What do we do with them?
Why does that?
Well, hang on a second. Let me land this real quick. If we strip them, if we say third generation and newer are not eligible for welfare programs, almost all of them would just leave. Because the reality is 53% of first generation migrants, according to the Center for Immigration Studies, 53% as soon as they get here are on a welfare program. That is insane. So we're not only are we allowing them to come into our countries on these garbage programs that are abused, but then we're paying them to be here, which is absolutely insane.
Oh, here. 90.
Totally agree.
When you talk about
Totally agree.
Somalis, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that because I wanted to get your thoughts.
Because you wanted to change the subject?
No, he's talking about Somalis. We're talking about immigrants. We're talking about fraud, right? In this case,
I didn't bring up the fraud, but we can talk about the $9 billion in fraud that they also
Denaturalize and deport.
So you care about the Somali fraud. Is that a fair characterization?
No, I care about American demographics and American identity. And I care about America First policies that prioritize Americans who are actually American. They actually abide by American values. And they,
You think that's happening right now in the Trump administration? Is
No, I don't. I think that Trump is doing a poor job of that, actually. I think that he's too pro-multiculturalism.
The reason why I brought up the Somalis,
He likes
and
gay
obviously,
people, too. He does. He unfurled an LGBT flag.
He's like
on
the
stage.
he parades that
I
around.
think this is important to talk about the Somali stuff for a moment because I'm against fraud no matter what you look like, where you're from, whether you're an undocumented.
But I didn't even bring up fraud. You
I
brought up
understand
fraud
that,
because
but
you
you
want
brought
to talk about fraud. I want to talk about demographics.
I don't want.
Well,
But he's.
I wanted to bring up.
He's not talking about fraud. He was talking about how Somalis, multi-generational Somalis in Minnesota, collect welfare benefits.
Yeah.
Ilhan Omar explicitly stated they're going to send that money to Somalia, and that if you just said, okay, well, you're not eligible for welfare, up to a certain generation, they would leave.
Yep.
He didn't bring up fraud.
This is legitimate welfare that they're taking.
I understand that, and I'm not going to sit here and defend Ilhan Omar because I think she's a despicable human being. But with that being said, the reason why I think the Somali, is what's going on in Minneapolis is interesting, is because I hear so many people on the right that go after Somalis and the Somali fraud, and I don't know, this person might have stolen $10,000 in welfare from the government, so on and so forth. What about the over 70 people that have been given pardons that have committed billions of dollars in fraud and don't have to pay back any restitution?
Wait.
I never hear people on the right
deflection. This is literally a deflection, though.
Wait. Okay. We'll wrap them up too with the Somalis and put them on a boat and send them to the island.
Yes.
Yeah, or if they're Americans, they can go to prison. Like, if they've been here forever, then that's our problem.
And then Trump was wrong to pardon them.
Denaturalize or strip them of their citizenship and send them to the moon.
No, to Somalia.
Somalia, there you go. Strip them of their citizenship
Brian,
and send
we
them out.
agree with you. They can go to Somalia with Ilhan.
Yeah. Strip them of their citizenship.
Well, you could say Ilhan. I'm not a big fan of hers, but
the point is, this isn't about fraud. This is about America Last policies that are literally prioritizing foreigners who just got here over Americans who've been here forever, Americans who actually built this country. That's who we're
wasn't
prioritizing.
this country founded on immigrants?
The entire phrase "nation of immigrants" doesn't
conquerors.
show up until the 1960s, pushed by the Anti-Defamation League in a book that was attributed to JFK, not actually written by him. So that phrase doesn't even show up
I
until
think
the 1960s.
we should make it easier for people to come into this country.
Absolutely
No.
not.
So 10 to 15 years to become a naturalized
I don't think we.
citizen.
I think
You're
we
okay
should
with
close
that?
the border for
Yeah.
the indefinite future.
Close
We have
the
way too
close the
many
border,
borders.
end immigration for 2 decades.
Wow.
At least.
I'm only halfway there between you guys.
10.
Wow.
No, I think I do
year by
think
year.
we want immigration. What we don't want is mass H-1Bs. We don't want cultural discohesion. We don't want displacement. We do want hand cherry-picked scientists, athletes like.
But shouldn't those people be making their countries better? Because we're actually stripping their
no.
talent from them, and that turns places like India into a shithole. So,
I mean, I got no problem with the United States being the unipolar dominant power by brain draining other countries.
okay, but why isn't China doing this? Like, why isn't China bringing in all these, scientists?
They are. It's
from
called the Thousand
India
Talents
and-
program.
They're bringing in Indians.
Well, I probably the Thousand Talents China is recruiting.
Well, but you already
academics
granted you're
across-
against H-1B. You're against
Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah, okay.
So
what?
H-1B is the lie where they try and tell. So are you familiar with like O1 and O2 visas and things like this? Extraordinary talent, scientists, researchers, business leaders. H-1B is not those things. They claim H-1B is for the people who just we can't find them to do this job. They're talent. No. Those are O visas, and there's a bunch of others. There's like Olympic athletes that I think that's like a K visa. H-1Bs are. We couldn't find anyone to take the job, so we'll take whoever we can get. And the trick that these companies use is they're supposed to make a public announcement of the job availability. If nobody applies, then they're legally allowed to recruit from any other country through H-1B if they, of course, there's a lottery for it. So what they do is they'll buy a tiny little ad in a newspaper to satisfy the legal requirement for public notice. Then when no one applies for the job, hire a guy at 70% of the standard wage from India and move him here. It's fraud. That is fraud across the board. And those are American companies doing it.
And it's worth noting that the H-1Bs are tied to employment, so the people that actually employ these people basically can treat them like absolute garbage. Right?
Well, that's
like,
another thing. They're paid 20-30% less.
Yeah.
And they'd
So you better work on
Let me-
Saturday.
let me-
It'd be terrible if you lost
How
your
many
job.
people are we talking about here? Because that's another thing too. Is like, don't you agree?
Hundreds of thousands per year, maybe.
Okay, sure, but don't you agree that like we are in a position now where we need to close it at least for now to get things under control?
I disagree.
To get our demographics under control.
think-
right now we are literally like, the immigration problem in America right now is
bad.
even under Trump.
But let me my point is when we stop the general economic migration.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should have zero migration, but I think you and I actually probably agree to a great extent. I don't think a working class guy in Guatemala should be able to apply for a work visa to come to the United States at this point because of the issues we've had. So I have no problem with a general moratorium on economic migration. But if there's like a dude who's invented a new polymer that's going to revolutionize space travel or something, we got to steal those people. And I understand your point too, because it's a good point that their countries become shitholes because we take the talent from them. I actually am not bothered by the idea that the United States is a shining city on the hill of the best, brightest, wealthiest, and the other countries go down the bell curve of like worse, and we're at the top.
But what do you mean by better now? You're just talking about like technological development and like GDP going up. Like what do you mean by better? Because
Well, I'm not concerned about cultural discohesion from like 100,000 people per year into 300 million.
Yeah, I agree with that. But right now, cultural discohesion is
high.
what is exactly.
But
that's my entire
with deportations combined with general economic migration moratorium, we're reversing that. But I still think we want to leave the door open for legitimate top tier high talent. Like if there's a dude in India and his IQ is 210, and he's like, I'm going to build the best super semiconductor anyone's ever seen. I have a new invention. We don't want India to have that. We want it.
I mean, I'm not.
I don't want them to beat us in the space race.
I'm not opposed. Long term, I'm not opposed to a couple 100,000 migrants a year. I think I think that's normal. I think that's healthy for a nation. But I mean, I think just that right now, because of the little 911 situation we're in with mass migration, which you agree, I just think we need a blanket.
But again, so let's say we do a blanket moratorium, zero immigration, and then literally some guy in India is like, "I've done it. I've discovered a new element," and we're like, "Shh."
I'm willing to take that risk if in return I get my America First policies, we get Americans taken care of, and we fix our demographics.
Are we doing that now?
That won't happen. No.
So here's the other
it's
thing.
It's not a
to
one
consider,
and
too.
done
Here's
thing.
the reason why I'm not for just I'm talking like a 90%. You're talking 100. So Elon's building a semiconductor factories. We've outsourced. One of the problems with everything we've done in the past 30 years is outsourcing of a lot of our higher talent jobs. We have Taiwan building most of our semiconductors, which has left us vulnerable to China. We need those here. It's one of the reasons why I think SpaceX is actually going to go way up in value, because Elon's talking about building a semiconductor it's called like Terafab, I think, semiconductor factory in the U.S. We need to reintegrate top technological talent, engineering, et cetera, which we gave away. So we have a twofold problem with we're bringing in too many Guatemalan farmers. They can't replace middle managers, and we've exported a lot of our high-tech jobs. I went to a meeting with an app development company 10 years ago. I had an app that I was working on. Most of when we're like, okay, we need to hire some developers, they go, oh, Ukraine. Just hire Ukrainians in Ukraine, not in America. Because you got to pay them $60K a year. You hire American, it's $150.
Well, yeah, and that's that. Policies need to be in place to incentivize hiring Americans, bringing manufacturing to America. All these things are part of this.
But so to my point is, we import our semiconductors from Taiwan, and there's Taiwanese specialists.
Which is why we're defending.
In the short term, exactly. In the short term, we might want to take 3 or 4 of their top talent, bring them here to oversee a factory, so we can reintegrate.
Let's talk about solutions on what we do right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Close the border.
So I understand. Let's talk about the people that are already here. So. I think the last stats I saw a couple of years ago was that more than 50% of people that are in this country undocumented, and this might have changed, are those that overstay their visas. So here's my
round them up.
Okay, so
debank.
So you come from the cloth, which is you committed the misdemeanor, you're in this country illegally, even if you haven't committed a violent crime in, say, 30 years, you have a family here.
Even if you've never committed a violent crime.
It's not even about that.
Bro, that's so brilliant. The debanking thing, I never even considered it.
Yeah.
Imagine someone comes in for a visa. Let's say someone gets like a 2-year work-live visa. When you apply for a bank account, they should attach your visa to the account and say,
that's cool.
Your bank account has an expiration date.
Yep.
And when it expires, you get mailed a check.
And if you want to update your bank account,
when it expires, you have to take that money out and leave. And if you don't, the bank keeps it, and that money goes to the Federal Reserve or to the Treasury. It goes to the Treasury to pay back the debt, right?
When accounts get closed, they mail the balance to whatever address is on file.
Not for these guys.
All right.
Well, I don't want the government.
Hold on. The reason why I think it's funny what you're saying, but there are people who would have a visa expire and intend to leave. We can't just seize their money if we want them to leave. They need money to go.
You got to put because they know when their visa expires. Right, you've got up until this date. You have to get your money out.
Then agreed. There would have to be like a multi-notice system where it's 3-month warning. Your visa set to expire. Your account will be shut down.
Sure. I mean, look, man, you get annoying.
Brilliant.
You get annoying text messages and annoying mailers all the time. You can add those.
I'm telling you, most of these problems would solve themselves. And then
you disagree with that?
I mean, it's an interesting theory.
Well, because we're not talking about deportation. We're saying your visa is an agreement. You can be here for 2 years. Why should they be allowed to have an American bank account after that? And then, they'll just leave
or have the money shipped to a foreign bank account.
And we're saving money on
ICE.
ICE.
Send it to the
then
Treasury.
We don't need the ICE agents anymore. I mean, this solves everything.
And you should also make
it.
You
need ICE. You need ICE for the remainder. You would need. ICE would be. It would be for the anomalies. It would be for the few that didn't leave.
It should also be a legal
option. This is like
exactly.
You come into the country. We welcome you in, and then when your visa expires, your accounts expire with it. And then you have to refile or leave.
Let's talk about.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah. And also, I saw that the DOJ is actually going after some people that employ illegals. Those people should definitely go after employers.
Them too.
Oh, literally, those guys.
Should go after
Report Donald Trump.
And also,
they need to be harshly fined.
Absolutely.
And probably jail time.
The green
light.
I think there needs to be harsh.
And also, anyone that rents to illegals,
Yes.
they should be
Harsh penalties.
They should be harsh penalties
100%.
because you're harboring criminals. So they should. This is how you.
This is
fix
literally, and you
immigration
as
problems.
a liberal
it's like
or whatever you call
misdemeanor
yourself, this is how you mitigate the exploitation of low-cost migrant labor. This is how you mitigate that, because you're getting them out in a humane way, right? So that the economy is not taking advantage of them, which is something that you disagree with. We all agree that's bad.
There's
Wait,
no
I
ICE
got a question.
raids.
Yeah.
What if we actually create Visa accounts so that it's not a bank, it's actually an account through the government? If you are coming here, so what this does twofold. When these workers come here, they can't get paid under the table. I mean, you can, but what you want to do is you want to create an easy path to not having that happen. We don't want illegal workers. So when you come here with a visa, you get an account attached to it with a bank account so that we can make sure they're paying taxes they're supposed to pay. They're getting paid the amount of money they're supposed to getting paid, not getting ripped off. And then when their visa expires, the account is just gone with it. It's a one of the problems we have is they'll come in and they'll just work under the table.
Yep.
So how do you get rid of that? Well, you don't get rid of it through punishment because they're already breaking the law. You get rid of it through incentives. How do we stop people stealing music? We made it easier to stream music than to download music. So you make it easier for them to get paid through an account than it is to get paid under the table. Taxes are collected properly. Wages are paid properly. Less illegal hiring because it's easier just to use the account. And then when your visa expires, the account is gone.
I was talking about harsh penalties for the employers and
agreed.
And the
you get caught paying under the table, you get lashes.
You think it's humane what they're doing right now?
Don't care.
What
You don't care if people are treated like animals? You don't care?
I want people to be dissuaded from coming here illegally, dissuaded from staying.
But that wasn't my question.
If it takes some amount of military or a police force to do it, then yes, I'm okay with it.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
So you said people are being treated like animals?
Some are.
So what is the criminal line for when someone can be treated like an animal?
Great point.
We're all animals.
Like a guy walks into a mall and takes a kid and let's say a black guy walked into a mall, went to the third
First of all,
floor.
don't break the law if someone's seeking asylum, right? Don't break the law. Don't deport them. That's
I got
illegal.
a question for you. Let's say a black dude went to a mall, went to the third floor, grabbed a little boy and chucked him over the edge of the railing. Can you treat him like an animal?
You could certainly use deadly force to arrest him.
Worse than an animal, then. You can't just kill an animal, right?
That's a felony. We're talking about. I'm talking specifically about people that have.
I'm just going to the extreme end. We're walking.
Right, but I'm not talking about felons or serious what I would consider violent crime. We're talking about people who have committed misdemeanors. And I think when you send certain people that are nonviolent criminals, say to an El Salvador prison, treated like animals, I have a problem with that.
They're El Salvadoran.
No, not everybody that's not true. People that were sent over there, a good portion of them were not from that country.
Other examples?
Look it up. Look it up. What's the guy from Maryland? I'm forgetting his name.
That's actually incorrect. There is no guy from Maryland.
He lived in Maryland. He was from El Salvador.
I mean, the guy from El Salvador who got sent to El Salvador?
Right, but they claim that he was in gangs because of his tattoos.
Why is it America's responsibility to even ensure that they get back to the country?
Because there's something in our constitution.
But they came into our country, right? Why does it matter? Why does it matter?
Because
why is it our responsibility?
Why does it matter so we can just be inhumane to human beings? Is that your argument?
No, my argument is why is it America's responsibility to get them back to their home country in the first place, rather than just expel them from our country?
Well, hold on.
Send them to an El Salvador prison.
And away from America. They came here illegally.
Ryan is correct. 230 Venezuelans were sent to El Salvador.
230?
Oh, no. Why is it America's
Venezuelans.
responsibility? I don't understand.
So send them to. So let me.
Hold on, real quick. Venezuela refused to accept them, so they were sent to El Salvador instead.
So it's your position that why is it our responsibility?
Yeah, I'm asking.
So if you've committed a misdemeanor and you've been in this country for decades and you're a nonviolent criminal, I know you don't care about brown people, but I do.
None of it matters.
None of that
Well,
matters.
to you guys, it doesn't matter.
No,
It doesn't
matter because if you don't have borders that are actually upheld, then you don't have a country, you don't have a nation.
So I want to make a few points. Abrego Garcia was adjudicated 2 times before this as a member of MS-13.
I understand that.
It's adjudication. That's the process by which we say, okay, that is a thing.
60 Minutes story that I thought was some really good investigating. I believe the stat that I saw was over 60% of the people that were sent to this prison where they were treated like animals are nonviolent criminals.
I don't care.
So if you've committed a misdemeanor, you're okay with
Bro, it's El Salvador. Okay, listen. There's only one issue I'd entertain as an argument, and that is Venezuela refused to accept Venezuelans that were in America, so Trump sent them to El Salvador instead. There is an international issue at that point. But Venezuela refusing to accept their own citizens puts us in a conundrum that there's no good answer for. I'm not happy with us sending Venezuelans to El Salvador. But when we send Salvadorans to El Salvador, it is up to the country of El Salvador to deal with their own citizens. If they're treated like animals, that's unfortunate for them in their own country. But I can cite a million other countries that are substantially worse. Like China's raping and forcing abortions on Uyghur Muslims, right? What China does to its own citizens, we are mad about, but we don't intervene. I mean, I don't expect us to do. If El Salvador has a law and a prison, and we send criminals that are El Salvadoran back to El Salvador, it is up to their country and their jurisdiction to deal with them as per their laws.
As long as everybody has, to an extent, of due process, then I don't disagree with you. But that's not what's happening within this administration right now. And I also talked about people that are seeking asylum coming from.
What due process is necessary for someone who is illegally here?
I got to address this because this is a liberal framing device, and I do not appreciate conservatives not understanding what's happening. Due process is not a proper noun. It's a definitional sentence. It is a definitional phrase.
So if
due process literally means the process by which an individual is due under the law and the Constitution.
If someone is seeking asylum and they're filling out the proper paperwork and they're going to their court dates and all that, is it illegal for us to deport them?
No. You listen. I am not playing this framing device game.
It's not
if
framing.
you come to a port of entry and apply for asylum, you may be granted it or temporary protected status. If you enter the country illegally, committing a crime, and then say, I want asylum, they can deport you.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. But we know that there are cases, where they are seeking asylum and they're going about it the right way and they're filing the proper paperwork and they're getting arrested right outside of courtrooms. That is illegal. Those are the specific cases
You're
that I'm talking about
individuals who entered illegally and later tried to claim asylum to stay here. The due process in that circumstance, the process by which you are due under the law, based on the INA, codified by Congress, is that an executive branch judge, these are not judiciary, can issue an expedited deportation order regardless of your declaration of refugee or asylum status. If you apply beforehand and are granted TPS, then they cannot, because the process you are due is a hearing to determine.
What I'm trying to tell you is that is also taking place, and you could look that up if you don't.
And the existence of errors are regretful and should be stopped.
It's happening
a lot. We can agree on that. But it's not the majority or the bulk, and it's not the principal issue.
I didn't say it was the majority. I never said that.
The issue at hand is 90+% of the people who so during the Biden administration, I think the number was between 90 and 95 of the people claiming asylum did not have legitimate claims. They were crossing the border illegally, being placed under a bridge in Texas, and then CBP officers were being instructed not to ask them their claims, and they're being put on buses, trains, planes, and vans and shipped across the country. Then they were being asked when they arrived by NGOs what their asylum claims were. Then they were gone, and the asylum claims were determined to be at a high rate to be like false or incorrect claims, and they were already gone. So what the Biden administration then did was they just erased the cases. So where these people were supposed to go to court to follow up on the claims they had made, they became de facto second-class citizens in the United States because they were here illegally, but they no longer had pending action under asylum claims. This is psychotic. It's insanity. Deport all of these people and do not let people illegally enter the country. And if they overstay their visas, debank and deport.
Everybody that's undocumented in this country right now, regardless whether you have any other criminal record or broke any other law other than committing a misdemeanor coming into this country illegally, it could be 50
if you are
years.
asked,
Imagine 5 years.
real quick.
They all should be deported.
Real quick. If you got a problem with the law, you can change it.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Also, imagine. Well,
what I was just talking about with you is the Trump administration breaking the law, right?
Where?
And even, I just told you there are specific examples of people that filled out the proper paperwork, that have done it the proper way, that are being deported.
And when errors happen, because they happen in every system, they're regrettable. They should be stopped.
You agree that that's also wrong?
You and I agree that if a person filed legitimate
Yes.
Siley
That
paperwork
is happening.
at a port of entry.
Yes.
Came in with protected status and were deported. We do have a problem. Agreed.
That is okay.
The issue
That's
is
all I was saying.
we hear from liberals all the time this phrase due process, and conservatives who've not looked up the Constitution or understand what the phrase means think there's a proper noun that due process means a jury trial or a bench trial.
No, I don't think that.
Due process means the process you are due under the law.
Right.
Which means, as if you illegally cross the border and a CBP agent or ICE agent sees you, the process you are due is for them to apprehend you and drive you back across the border.
You know,
Real simple.
I don't think that everyone that's here illegally should be deported. I think there's prosecutorial discretion, and sometimes ripping societies apart for the sake of the law actually destroys your society. Not all law is good. So there are times like you've been here 10 years, you have kids here. They are not priority to deport, in my opinion.
But that
I think that if
incentivizes it.
someone
That
is here- I
incentivizes
agree.
it, though. Then people see that they're like, oh, so if we can just last 10 years, we just have to make it 10 years, and then they'll let us stay. So anytime you implement policies like that officially, that incentivizes more illegal
It's
migration.
not official. It would be not on the books. You still can get deported if you've been here 80 years.
Okay, but people aren't-
But realistically,
Yes, exactly.
you deprioritize the prosecutions
Ian,
of people that have been here for 30 years.
Let me
with
tell you
families.
guys a story that I've told a million times to this audience, and they're going to hear it again, but it's for you now. I got hostile environment training. Everybody wants to do it. Every young journalist wishes they can go to a heat session. And in it, we were told that for most of us in the training, we were Americans, but there are some people who are not. The final training scenario we did was that we were going to so it was role playing, right? We were going to interview a terrorist. They put us in SUVs. We drive to the terrorist HQ. And then right when we get out, they scream and run up with masks and AKs and kidnap us. They bring us to a warehouse. We can't see anything. We have bags over our heads, and we stood there for hours. It's actually kind of fun. Then they put us to a room and interrogated us. There's like a low light, like in the movies, and there's 3 guys in front of you, and they're like banging the table. I had a lot of fun doing it. Then they put you back against the wall, and after about like 3 hours in total, you hear flashbangs. You hear doors kick open. You hear screaming, on the ground, nobody move. And dudes come in, tactical gear and guns. Mm-hmm. They put the scenario terrorists on the ground. Everybody stands there. Then they march us all outside, take all our masks off, and they explain to us, if you are American and you are kidnapped, do as you have done. That you will be rescued. Special forces will be dispatched, and they will massacre everyone. The United States does not negotiate with kidnappers or terrorists. However,
Unless you're Donald Trump.
if you are European, particularly if you are German or Spanish, you need to avoid these areas. The governments of Spain and Germany notoriously pay any amount to rescue their citizens, so you are high targets. If you go to the Middle East to do journalism, they will seek you out and they will kidnap you. If you are Americans, they will be afraid to. Like, there's stories that I've heard, and they explained, because these guys were former special forces, MI6 British and things like that. And they were like, yeah, what happens is if they kidnap an American, in the middle of the night, a helicopter is heard overhead. Dudes drop down with night vision and kill every one of the kidnappers. So my point real quick is this. The reason I bring this up is that the United States has maintained the doctrine that you do not negotiate because it will incentivize. If we say, as you were just pointing out, if you last a certain amount of time, you can make it, then they go, here's our plan. We're going to hide, and we're going to be squatters, and we're also going to falsify documents claiming.
Yeah, but you don't. That's why I said you don't make it legal. You just say, hey, if you're here illegally, you're going to get deported. But then realistically, behind the scenes, you're like, we're going to.
And then what happens is it's reflected in enforcement, and the cartels go, here's your 10-year forged document. Once you get to Omaha, claim you've been there for 10 years, and they can't remove you.
So we'll take them out.
I
They don't have
agree,
any
and I
legal recourse.
disagree with some of what you guys are saying, but I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Because you had said something to me earlier off the air, which I completely disagree with. You have a disdain for Muslims, and you believe, even if you're a legal immigrant, you believe all Muslims should be deported. Is that correct?
Muslims that are consistent with their religion, yes.
What does that mean?
Because Sahih
consistent?
al-Bukhari 6922, which is a Sahih hadith, it's authoritative to all Sunni Muslims, states that they have to kill all apostates. So that means that they are held to the doctrine that if let's say a 20-year-old Muslim girl converts to Christianity, they believe, if in power, that she should be stoned.
So how do we police that? Because not all Muslims think that, by the way. So how do we police something
They
like
can
that?
live contrary. They can live contrary to their religion, yes, but they have to be
So
living
all
contrary
Muslims
to their
shouldn't be
religion.
deported then. It's a case-by-case basis, and you question them on whether they believe in
I'm saying that Islam in general as a religion is not compatible with America, and so therefore, if someone is actually abiding by the doctrines of Islam, then they're incompatible with America.
So it's a moral high ground that you're taking. You think all Muslims?
Yeah, because America's a Christian nation. So
okay, well that's your opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. It's in the state constitutions.
Okay, well
11 out of the 13
so what does that mean?
original
If
state
I'm not
constitutions.
Christian, do I have to believe by Christian?
You have to abide by the Christian culture of the country that you're in. Yeah.
Well, technically, you have to abide by the law, and I think that would establish
grounded
the law.
in-
That would establish
and the law is
crime.
informed by Christian
Well,
doctrine.
pre-crime,
Yes.
if you have to deport people based on what you think they might do, that's a
So
form
how
of
do we
pre-crime.
police that? So explain to me this. If you're a Muslim living in the United States of America, and we're going by your standards, which obviously I disagree with, how do we police whether Muslims have this belief system or not? Because as you know, every human being is different. Every Muslim
Well, a lot of
is
them
different.
actually do admit
Every
it.
Christian is different.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them do.
So how do we
actually
police
admit
it? Tell me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you could easily question Muslims. Hey, do you think that if sure,
Law
there's
enforcement?
nothing wrong with this, right?
Just go
saying
door to
as a
door and
concept-
knock?
I'm just saying as a concept.
And I'm asking you, we go door to door
okay.
and just question Muslims. Hey, do you believe this?
This is already downstream from the completion of the remigration plan that I already laid out, and the final layer of it, which I haven't gotten to yet, was crime. So I believe in a prorated system of crime. So basically, if you're third generation and you commit a violent crime or at least $100,000 in debt or in fraud, you should be automatically deported.
What if you're an atheist?
If you're
and you don't believe in God?
Hey, can you let me finish?
All right, go ahead.
You can't hold office.
Yeah, well,
It's in state constitutions.
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, so third generation, 100,000 in fraud or violent crime, automatic deportation. Second generation, any felony, automatic deportation. First generation, I believe if you commit any crime, automatic deportation. So basically, that's going to already get rid of a lot of these migrants. Then you can start to deal with these people that, are incompatible with American culture. Do you believe it's compatible? If a Muslim says, yes, I believe a 20-year-old girl who converts from Islam to Christianity should be stoned to death because she's publicly proclaiming the name of Christ, do you think that person should be able to live in America?
I think
gain power in America.
Okay, there's a lot of people that live in America that have some really awful beliefs. But just because you believe something doesn't mean you're going to do it.
So you think that is compatible with American culture?
Whether somebody's compatible with American culture or not is not the point. You're asking me a question about
it is the
should
point.
You be,
That's what I'm
should
asking.
you be deported if you have a belief that you disagree with? And I say absolutely not.
Okay, well, I say
Absolutely
absolutely. I say that is incompatible with American culture. We don't stone people here in America. You can go back to Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan and do that.
No.
We don't do that here.
Okay,
here we don't stone people.
The act of doing it is different than believing.
Okay,
in
but
something.
if they're admitting when we take power, we're going to do this to you, then I don't want you in my country. That should not be controversial.
To me, that's not a reasonable thing to say, that you think that just because a Muslim person might have a radical, and by the way, not all Muslims believe in that stuff, okay?
They do, but the hadith for all Sunni Islam, Sahih hadith is authoritative to them.
I don't know. You're friends with Myron Gaines.
I
Does
wanna
he think that?
I want to
Does he
read a
think
really
that?
funny. Are you able to read that? Or is it too far away?
We need
It might be too far away, right? Let me zoom in, make it as big as I can.
What are we talking? What is this? I might know what it is.
Where was it? I just want you to read the.
This looks
No,
like
I know
a
what
hadith.
this is. This is Joseph's. This is story. His story's a commentary on the amendments.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Just you can read that line.
Or is this one of the constitutions in the state constitution?
You just read the line.
That as it is,
That it is the duty of every man to worship God in such a manner he thinks most acceptable to him. All persons professing the Christian religion are equally entitled to protection in their religious. This might be. Is this the Supreme Court case?
This is the Constitution, the original 1776 Constitution of Maryland, which states.
Yeah. Okay.
All those professing a Christian religion are equally entitled to protection in their liberties. The point being, it's just one example. It goes on to say general equal text in support of the Christian religion. The original state constitutions were like they had what were they called, like faith tests or whatever.
Yeah.
In order to hold office, you had to publicly pronounce a faith in the Christian God.
Here's what I don't like.
Virginia
Well,
was
I
a-
want to read
Virginia-
one. Wait, before we move on from this, because this is Joseph Story was one of the. He's one of the first Supreme Court justices to give a commentary on the amendments. He was a Supreme Court justice in the early 1800s, and he gave this commentary on the First Amendment. He said the real object of the amendment was not to countenance, much less advance Islam or Judaism or infidelity by prostrating Christianity, but to exclude all rivalry among Christian sects and to prevent any national ecclesiastical establishment. So the point of the First Amendment, according to the early founding fathers, was not to allow for like things like Islam that are incompatible. No, it was for Christian unity.
Blasphemy was a crime.
There's currently blasphemy laws on the books.
Indeed, the last Supreme Court ruling, I think it was the 50s. If you went outside in 1790 and said Christ is not king, they could arrest you, criminally charge you, or exile you.
So what about atheism? Like, what about people in this country that don't believe in
you
God?
have to abide by the culture of the nation that you are living in. So that means you have to respect. You can't be out, screaming, that Christ is talking about how Christ is like burning in. Okay, I don't want to get into that.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example.
You got to abide by legal norms.
You can go to Saudi Arabia, but you cannot insult the prophet. You will.
Well, North Korea, obviously, you can't take down a poster. We know what happened to Otto Warmbier. I mean,
and the United States is the most lax and respectful of non-Christian religions. His point is just that as a nation founded under Christian moral ethics, people who are non-Christians should be deferential to Christian moral ethics.
Yeah,
maybe back in the day before they spoke English, because like Muslims in the 1700s were like foreign like now they're our neighbors. So I understand radical ideology. And if someone says,
not radical though.
If someone says I'm going
not
to
every
commit
Muslim
this
believes
heinous
in that
act,
stuff.
if I get
But what I'm telling you is I
talk
to these. I literally do live streams where I talk to these guys, and I have
talk to these
teenagers.
guys.
I have teenagers that call in. I have middle-aged people that call in.
That is
most
so
of them,
offensive.
80% of them.
Let me tell you a story. You're gonna love this one.
Yeah.
In 2012, I think it might have been, or 2013, YouTube invited me to a special meeting in California to deal with Islamic extremism. They said that one of the problems they had was that, particularly in the UK, but in the United States as well, these accounts were popping up of English-born and English-speaking Muslims trying to radicalize young Muslims to go fight for ISIS. And they were saying it's become such a problem. We see these stories of people in America, the UK, and other countries going to the Middle East to join ISIS. How do we stop it? The issue they found was that the general beliefs of Muslims in the United States, in the West, was one-for-one compatible with ISIS. The lacking issue was a motivation to fight.
Yeah.
These videos were coming out, again, English speakers from the UK with like a British accent saying, are you really, mate, going to stand by what these people are, blah, blah, blah. We got to have the caliphate and you know it. And they were like, it's working. And how do we stop it? So a bunch of people were brought in to talk with YouTube on what were potential solutions for stopping Islamic extremism. And I think they were all miserably bad. One of them, like everybody entertained. There was one guy, he was an American Muslim, and he had the only solution, I think. But everybody's solution was like, you need to make videos where you explain to these young Muslims why that's wrong, actually, and you don't want to join the caliphate. And I'm sitting here being like, the problem they've identified is that the religious view of ISIS is one for one with the religious view of the Muslims in these countries. What the problem is that these videos are motivating them to go and fight on behalf of it. The only solution that I respected was a guy who said, you need to make a sitcom where the family is Muslim and they don't do Muslim things. So it's a family that is a regular American family where the dad has a regular job. They say things that sometimes passively reference that they're Muslim, but they don't espouse these values. That way, young Muslims in America integrate with what it means to be American. Yeah. And I was like, he's the only one who's right.
There are extremists.
But that's not really Muslim then. That's the point. Is like then
he's basically telling
them a watered down version of
Well, he was telling
Islam.
them to Americanize
Christians that like aren't really Christian.
Yeah, what about those
that's the
people?
difference. The difference is one is abiding by their book and the other is not abiding by their book. That's the entire.
But I think like 98% of Americans aren't really Christian. They don't espouse the virtue.
Well,
I
would say
they
no,
do.
Culturally, I would say the vast majority of them are. Like they abide by the basic Christian ethics.
What do you mean basic though?
What does that mean? Basic.
I come from the Christian.
Brian's a Christian.
I don't think Jesus is
like family
fucking
values.
Lord. Like, what are you talking about? How would anyone even know that?
Everyone in this room is only capable of having this conversation because you all abide by Christian moral ethics.
Morals, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm a Christian. I don't identify as a Christian. I'm not a Christian.
You are culturally a Christian. That's the point.
I'm culturally.
That's what you have to be.
I'm manipulated by Christianity, yes, and I've been born and bred through it. But I am not a self-identifying Christian.
What do you mean manipulated?
I was told like this is good. You want to
benefited from it.
I have, yes. Which would you prefer?
Is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person
Blackstone's
suffer?
formula comes
Or
from
can I ask the question? How about you?
You know my answer.
No, because I didn't finish the question.
Okay, what's your question? I'm in the middle of talking, and you want to stop me to ask me a question, bro. I was talking.
3 people are talking.
Right,
you
go.
stopped your sentence. I started talking, and you jumped in front of
now
me
you two
and
start
answered.
Okay, got it.
I'll ask Brian instead.
Yeah, here we go.
I have a question for you.
I love it when you guys argue.
Which do you prefer? Is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer? Or is it better that 10 innocent persons suffer than one guilty person escape?
Well, obviously, define what you mean by escape. What do you mean by escape?
Literal escape, run away, they're gone.
Well, obviously, I don't want anybody to suffer. So obviously, I wouldn't want 10 people to suffer.
So is it better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer? Or 10 innocent persons suffer to prevent one guilty from escaping?
That's a really tough question. I don't know. It's a hard question for me to answer, Tim. I don't know. I don't know. You got me speechless here. I don't know how to answer that. It's a very difficult dilemma to be in. If that person escapes, how many people are going to suffer?
Who knows?
That's the question, right?
So the point is, the Christian moral ethic is it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin particularly, expounded upon this by saying it's better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And it is of communists and dictators historically, and notably Otto von Bismarck, who said it's better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty escape. And so there's a reason why that doesn't work, and there's a reason why the Soviet Union only lasted 69 years. Yeah. And this is a Christian moral ethic founded in Blackstone. It's called Blackstone's formulation, and Blackstone wrote about this. His concept is a summation of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. If there's but one righteous man, I will not destroy these towns. The founding fathers contemplated this, and again, the Bill of Rights, the laws, they're all founded in Christian moral ethics. The founding fathers talked about it, and they said, it's an interesting point, but you made the point. If 10 guilty persons escape, how many innocent people are going to suffer?
Right.
So you might get substantially more suffering, right? And so Benjamin Franklin and a bunch of smart-ass mugs are like, how about this? Everybody can have guns, okay? And you will take responsibility if these guilty persons come at you.
Yeah.
We will not be the ones to torture innocent people. Mm-hmm. And the logic was written down, and it's brilliant. A society that tells the innocent you'll be punished regardless is a society that ends up in lawlessness and corruption out of fear that even if you're a good person, they will destroy you. A society that tells people we will do everything in our power to preserve the innocent and your rights, even among those who may be guilty, is a society where individuals seek to be as noble as they can be, knowing that the government will work tirelessly to protect
Do you believe in the separation between church and state?
I don't believe there's such a thing.
Well, I do.
No, I don't.
Founding fathers didn't believe in it.
There's no such thing.
Founding fathers also believed in owning human beings. So, I mean,
Okay, but if we're talking about the founding documents and the principles brought forward, the separation of church and state was not a thing. And it's not been a thing in literally any
but I'm
country
asking you
everywhere.
now.
No, I don't.
Your belief on that. I don't want policy to be designed by your religion.
It is.
Well,
I will say this.
Depends on the religion.
It is not possible to separate government from religion. Religion is moral philosophy and ideology. And if you take out Christian moral ethics, you'll get some other moral ethic guiding your law. I would prefer the Bill of Rights, Blackstone's formulation, which are founded in Christian moral ethics, over, say, Chinese communist.
Yeah. Here's my problem. Part of my problem with his argument, in that, yes, of course, radical Islam, dangerous. It's all bad. Radical. I get all that. Okay, but there are not. Every single Muslim doesn't believe in stoning people. Okay, there are Muslims in this country.
The majority do. Pew Research has done polls.
Okay,
you the majority of Muslims.
You can say that the majority do,
it's
but
Pew
you're not
Research.
saying.
But how many people were polled?
Yeah.
What? It's Pew Research. You could take it up with the pollers.
You said that 3 times. How many people were polled?
There was many different polls. We'd have to pull up the actual specific polls.
Okay, show me one.
Okay, yeah.
Is there radical Christians in this country?
Apostasy laws.
Are there radical Christians in this country?
Not that believe in stoning.
Yeah,
really?
Not that believe in
stoning. Aren't radical Christians
and
that
what are
don't
they
commit murder?
Well, the radical Christians instantiated the hunting down of apostates for 1,000 years. Radical religion in general is
what are you talking about?
When the Catholic Church went and did
You're talking about the Spanish Inquisition?
The Inquisition.
38,000 Muslims.
So they pulled 38,000 out of how many?
38,000 Muslims 80 different languages in 39 countries.
Whoa,
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's global.
pretty
That's not a
broad
U.S.
And what was the
poll.
percentage for apostasy laws in favor?
So let me. I'm right. So at the I've got the Pew.
The point
I'll
that
pull it up.
While you're looking
just
that
said
up,
80
the
different
point that I was
countries,
trying to make is that there are radicals in every religion.
The point
in
is
this country.
the point that he's making.
Every religion.
The point
There
that
are
Wait, hold on. None of them support women's rights. Okay.
Brian, the point that he's making.
So
is
they're
that
all Myron Gaines. That's what.
Why-
you're
point
why-
that
why
do you
hold on,
think
hold on,
he's
hold on.
like that?
Hold on. The point that he's making. The point
Support
that
Myron. I'm okay with that.
Brian, the point that everyone is making is it's not radical Muslims. That is the general opinion.
No, Ben
of
said that it
people
was
are
American Muslims were mostly radical. Then he pulled a global poll. That's not an American poll.
No.
point that
my
we're
claim-
making-
My claim about the
Islam.
apostasy laws was Muslims in general. I wasn't talking just about American Muslims.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lot of them, when they're here, of course, are going to lie. That's actually built into their doctrine. So that's also another problem we have to figure out how to fix. But listen, the reality is, 10 out of the top 10 global terrorist index terrorist organizations in the world, they're all Muslim. They're not Christian. So you could talk about anomalies in Christianity, but that's what they are. They're anomalies. They're outliers. They are extremely rare.
You got to see that the Muslims consider the Christians terrorists. They think the
That's
Americans
great.
are the terrorists.
That's great. They can do that over in Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and the UAE. We got our countries over here, and they should stay out of them.
But like calling them terrorists because they're the bad guys in your
They're
perspective.
terrorists because they want to stone people.
They all
for
hate
leaving their
suicide
religion.
bombings, though. They overwhelmingly in every country reject suicide bombings. That's a good thing.
That is a
There you
good
go.
thing.
We got to get questions. We got questions. I got to get these questions in. So let's start here with our good friend SWCPT. Question for Brian: if laws are derived from the consent of the governed, and the governed cannot change the laws, do those laws need to be followed? Because Brian keeps deriving his argument from the idea that misdemeanors are not a deportable offense, but we know that most Americans want illegal
Never
immigrants.
said that. I never
deported.
said that
Let
misdemeanors.
me just finish. Then you can.
Okay, go ahead.
So either Brian actually believes objective truth exists embodied in the law, and government is derived from that, or he believes that people's feelings about each other is the basis of government, and we and all we can do is give feelings legal weight for a time till it changes.
Yeah, so this person did not characterize my opinions correctly. Shocker. I never said that misdemeanors are not a deportable offense. What I did say is I think, and what my opinion is on that, is I think there are better ways as a society we can handle these people. No, I do not believe that if you committed misdemeanor, I think the best way to handle it, I'm understanding that, yes, that's the law, right? I don't think the best way to handle this is just to deport everybody. I think it should be a case-by-case basis. Obviously, most of the country agrees with me that if you're a violent criminal that is in this country illegally, absolutely you should be deported. And yes, I do believe Democrats, whether it's Tim Walz or Mayor Frey, whoever it may be, yes, they should be working with ICE. I don't have a problem with that if you have people that are in jail that have committed violent crimes, that are undocumented immigrants, yes, they should be deported. But I also think there are better ways as a society that we can do this. I think pathway to citizenship should be easier for people that have been in this country that haven't committed violent crimes, pay a penalty. I also have always believed in the fact that if you're in this country and you're not, you've committed that misdemeanor, you've committed a crime, listen, 5, 10, 15 years to become a legal citizen, I absolutely believe that's insane, okay? We need to make it easier, in my personal opinion, for people that want to come into this country the right way, and they want to do things the right way. They're not bad people. I believe it shouldn't take 15 years. And the bottom line is there's one party in this country that wants to make it more difficult for people to come to this country legally, and then there's another party that wants to make it easier. Yes, I think there are better ways about it, but
it's an extreme. There's either porous border, everybody comes, or it's like we shut down the border and nobody comes at all.
I think there has to be some sort of medium there where we need to come to a consensus, and that's not happening right now. It seems like there's extremes on one side or the other. I'm not saying our borders need to be wide open. I think Joe Biden did a horrible job. I think George W. Bush did a horrible job. I think a lot of presidents.
Wait, real quick.
Like when you're filling a bucket and it's starting to overflow, you're like, I got to turn the tap off.
But
Make
I'm
sure
never
we can.
gonna sit
Well, wait,
here-
because you don't want just the bucket to always be empty. You don't want it to overflow. Right now, it's overflowing.
I'm a Jewish
Ian's
man.
correct.
I am never, ever going to generalize an entire group of people and say they all want to stone people, because that is just not true.
wait, all right.
Nobody said all.
He makes a good point.
Majority.
Imagine you're imagine
just statistically
okay, here's
true.
the story. You got to take a mad whiz. You know what I mean? Like, man, you're hurting. And so you pull off on the side of the road and there's this old rickety gas station and you're like, well, I'll take what I can get, right? You know, like it's middle of the day. I'm not going to just let loose on the highway, but maybe if you have to. But you go in the bathroom and you're like, okay, so you do your deed and then you're like, I'm going to wash my hands. And you turn the water on, but it's cold and you want to to wait for it to get warm. However, the water is filling up faster than the drain can drain. And so at a certain point, you're like, oh, crap, I got to turn the water down because too much water is coming in and not enough is going through the drain. That's Ian's point. Ian's correct. There's a happy medium of the level of migration, and right now the sink is overflowing and spilling everywhere.
The extremes you're seeing is people being like, shut the faucet off, and you're like, hold on, leave a trickle going because it's still draining a little. We can find a medium here.
Well, hold on. I think to your point, the sink is overflowed. Yeah. You turn the sink off, wait for it to drain a little bit before turning it back on.
Yeah, immigration is a hose.
We got a question.
Like
we got a question. This is from Chaos Wrath. He says,
Yep.
Why is it when you talk about asylum seekers, you ignore the international rules of norm of stopping at the first safe country? Anything further is just an attempt to frame economic migrants who we owe nothing to as refugees.
It's not about owing
I agree
something.
with that.
It's not about necessarily owing something. It's about abiding by our own constitution.
But why should do you remember when the Guatemalan and Hondurans were in Mexico?
Yes.
And Mexico offered them asylum and they all went, no, and they left?
I do remember that.
Deport those people.
I understand what you're saying. I want our president and this administration to respect rule of law and what it says in our Constitution.
What does it say in the Constitution about immigration?
Well, if we're talking about due process,
It says that the executive has the authority over it in international relations, unless when it's something to that effect.
Yeah.
So then Congress actually codified under the INA. Actually, I'm sorry, I think it's the other way around. I think legislative branch controls the issue of immigration, but gave the rights to the executive branch under the INA.
But so there's nothing actually in the Constitution, because you've said it a couple.
Every person has the right to due process.
Hold on. You said it a couple times. The Constitution says about immigration, but there's nothing actually in there except for that everyone is entitled to due process.
Right, and that was my point.
Which we talked about.
Yes.
And due process doesn't mean some kind of court hearing or anything.
No, I never said that. But there are.
No, I'm just clarifying.
I never said that every single person has to have a court hearing. I would never make that claim.
We have an important one here from Taylor Lorenz's ex-wife,
What's up?
who has a comment, but I will read it. It's not a question.
Somebody's ex-wife?
Taylor
Lorenz's ex-wife.
Okay.
At Brian from last night's trans discussion, as the Timcast community's official trans person, I assure you trans is mental illness. It needs to stay as such to get us our drugs and surgeries. Also, it is gay to suck your girlfriend's dick. So the issue with so there was a big activism thing that happened like 10 years ago where a bunch of trans activists were trying to get gender dysphoria removed from the DSM, and prominent organizations immediately came out with statements being like, stop doing this, because if transgenderism is not a mental disorder or a prescribable illness, you can't get medication or treatment for it. You get dropped from your insurance. That means at that point, if you go to the hospital, they'll say, you're out of luck, you get nothing. Yeah. So they need it to be a mental disorder with prescribable treatments.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before. I'm not a doctor. I would imagine the person who made that statement probably isn't a medical professional either. Again, it's a case-by-case basis. There are certain people that have transgender surgeries. I'm sure they are mentally ill, but there are also...
No, but the point is, if you remove...
I understand. I understand the insurance.
No one will ever get medicine again. No, you can't even buy it.
I understand, and that's a problem. Right,
so trans people want it to be a mental disorder.
Well, I understand that. that, but I'm just speaking that's a problem.
You're being a transphobe when you tell them they're not.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, I don't think every single person that has transgender surgery is mentally ill. I would imagine some probably are. But again, I'm not a doctor.
No. Again, to clarify,
I understand what you're saying.
They're asking
the insurance. They're asking it to be mentally ill.
It's not even insurance. So when you're saying they might or might not be mentally ill, they're telling you explicitly they are suffering from a mental disorder. Please stop saying otherwise because you are hurting their
There's
cause.
the legal definition of is it classified, but then there's also like is it legitimately some sort of disorder mentally? I mean, I would think always it would be if you felt like you're in the wrong sex body, that's some sort of disorder.
I hear you, Ian. I just feel like a lot of people on the right are obsessed with transgenders. It seems like every single time there's a mass shooting, they hope that it was from a transgender so they can attack the transgender community. I just think it's a joke.
But this is politics, man. Like, are you familiar with Coulter's law?
Yes.
So this just happened the other day when there was a guy on a bus and a kid was talking on his phone, and the guy went to the kid, asking him to stop being so loud, and the kid just pulled out a gun and shot and killed him. And they didn't identify anything. They said the shooter was wearing a T-shirt, and that was it. And then immediately I was like, Coulter's law, right?
Tim.
And then sure enough, a day later, like, yes, he was black.
Yeah, but Tim, you're friends with Matt Walsh, right? And I just feel like Matt Walsh is a despicable human being. All day long, I'm shocked. All day long, shocked that you're a Matt Walsh fan.
I think Matt's great.
All day long, what does he do? If he's not attacking black people, which he does on a regular basis, he's attacking transgenders. He's literally made a living attacking. And I ask all of you, how are transgenders negatively affecting you in your life? They're not negatively affecting me. How are they negative? Now, I'm not talking about the school and the sports thing. Okay, I agree. Transgender women.
I have an answer for you. Outside of the building that I owned in Martinsburg, they had a drag show with transvestites for children, which is a violation of the law, and I don't want my family anywhere by for a variety of reasons, which we can go to the larger moral philosophical of. I don't want sexualization exposed to my children or my community's children.
You're talking about drag queen reading or like what?
It was a sex show on stage. They set up a stage in the street and had
don't bring your
children
kids
come
there.
up. I don't want it next to my coffee shop where people are trying to buy stuff.
What were they doing that
Sex
you thought was
dancing.
sexually explicit? What was it?
Booty shaking, twerking, etc.
Well, booty shaking could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be a transgender. Somebody could booty shake.
And that's also problematic.
And so my issue
getting
was
into the
they were
granular
doing sexual deep things for children.
I don't want strippers
Booty
doing
shaking?
it. I don't want strippers doing it in the street either. So there you go. It's
how would you know? Well, first of all, I don't think booty shaking is.
But let's just.
I don't
let's
want
just-
my kids to see
let's just
that.
don't have
You're
them.
okay
Don't
with
bring them
kids?
there.
Wait, you're
But
okay,
hold on,
you're
hold
okay
on.
with kids watching booty shaking?
Wait,
Are we talking about nudity or what are we talking
Let's get the
about?
framing right. Let's get the framing right.
Strings.
I don't care about trans people. We have, as I mentioned, we have a Timcast official trans person who just asked a question, who has called in numerous times, who we've hung out with. Totally don't give a crap. If you're an adult, I think I have concerns. I think there's better options for you in terms of how you can seek to treat the disorder. My concern, and I think most conservatives, I would argue that there's a general for the average person, they're not well versed in politics. Everything's particularly surface level. So when they see trans activists and when they see leftists supporting trans rights, when these people do things wrong, it becomes a blanket. For instance, when that guy in the Canadian school had the big fake boobs and said, "This is,"
I remember.
and when
that
we
story.
go, "Hey, stop!"
That was inappropriate the way he was dressed.
But general leftists say, "Stop attacking this person." When you get
well, that was inappropriate because of the dress
indeed.
code.
But so my point is this: I don't care if a person is trans. We've had, and I'll use
A
someone's
lot
preferred-
of conservatives do.
Indeed, because and again,
I share your same opinion.
We're framing the point.
Yeah.
So we've had trans people come on this show, and there was one individual who was like 6'5", very male, very masculine, but said, "I'm she, her." I said, "You got it.
Yeah, who
You want to come
cares?
on my show?
Right.
Well, if you're going to be nice to me, I'll be nice to you."
Yes.
And the issue then becomes, you get someone like I'm not going to name the person, but there was a fat man claiming to be trans, going into girls' bathrooms and taking pictures of little girls.
Well, that's a crime.
And no, because they were protected under the law because trans activists got the laws passed.
Wait, taking pictures of people in the
Yes,
restroom
it's
is legal?
not a crime.
Okay, well, that should be a crime. That's
And
insane.
now you agree with us 100%.
Listen, if you're straight, gay, trans, not
But
trans.
notice how it wasn't a problem until trans people entered the picture. That's the point. That
What are you talking
no,
about?
the issue is this. The issue
Wait,
is this.
hold on. It's not. What are you talking about? You're saying straight people and Christian people
No, what
can't
he's
commit a
saying-
crime in
he's-
a bathroom?
Well, what he's saying is that this became a problem that literally the law wasn't able to deal with after the I bet everyone who did it before then probably got prosecuted
No.
with no issues.
This is the point. If Phil walks into a girl's bathroom and snaps pictures of little girls, he's getting arrested. But if Phil puts on a wig and a dress and does it, he says,
Well, that's insane.
I hate everything about this.
That's what we are complaining about.
Okay, that's a problem, but that's
we
what-
agree.
That's what you're complaining about. That's what you're complaining
Yes.
about. Matt Walsh attacks transgenders every day on there.
And
mocks transgenders, and he makes
that's Matt Walsh.
money. He
And
makes
that-
money
How does he
doing that
attack
because
Matt
he's a
Walsh?
How
bigot.
does he attack? What does he do to attack them?
Do I really need to
Define
explain?
attack.
Do I really need to explain to you that the guy writes books on how horrible?
You just ask what a
transgenders
woman
are?
is.
There was he wrote
That's all I see him doing.
He wrote a children's book that was very neutral. It was very much like, which one did he write where it was like, "Don't be the wrong animal" or
Have
something?
you seen his Twitter feed?
Yeah, his Twitter feed's great. I love his Twitter feed.
It's very Christian of you. Very
Yeah, he's
Brian,
a great.
Brian,
he's
very
a-
Christian
he's a-
of you.
he's-
When
Yeah.
when
Pretty good
I can only tell you,
Attack people because of their sexuality or because
yes.
they're transgender. It's
Of
very.
course.
I got-
Allow me to tell you how to practice your religion.
Okay, but I got to say this. It's the final thing before we wrap up, and I got to say it. Okay. You show me tweets where you're insulting conservatives.
Absolutely.
You've made jokes, and I laugh
Absolutely.
at them. And I do.
Absolutely.
And Matt Walsh makes jokes, and I laugh at them too. So you're mad at Matt Walsh for being vitriolic and saying these things. You are vitriolic in your own way. But for me, jokes are jokes. And so when you make jokes that are at the expense of conservative groups or Christians or whatever, if it's a funny joke, I'm going to laugh at it. If Matt Walsh does the same thing about black people or trans people, I'm going to laugh at it too. I'm an equal opportunity offender. I like watching Ben Bankus. He'll make fun of or Ryan Long or Dave Chappelle. Like, you want to make a joke and rag on somebody, I'm not going to complain about it. If you get up on stage and just start insulting and attacking and you're vitriolic, well, I might be like, chill out, bro.
It's what Matt Walsh does.
But I think
We're not
you
talking
do
about
too.
a joke.
I think they're
It's
meant
what
to be facetious
Matt
and
Walsh
humorous. And
every day attacks transgenders and black people.
Does he
Every day.
Does he go after the individuals or does he go after transgenderism?
He goes
I've seen him go
after,
after
at
ism.
times he goes after individuals, whether
we're
it be,
pulling up Matt Walsh's X account.
yeah, go ahead.
Been a long time coming, Matty.
In fact, I went after him, and then it was really weird. He retweeted me the other day and didn't respond to it. It was very strange.
He's great though. One-on-one,
Ryan's
really
like,
fun.
don't do it. Benjamin's like, let's go.
Is he serious? But he's subversive and he's very funny.
So-
I think he's an asshole. I think he's an asshole.
Here we go.
Seems
He
like
said,
it. He looked
okay,
very.
all right, let me read one. Wow, I thought it was wrong for him to stab a kid to death, but now that I see these videos of Carmelo smiling and stuff, I've realized that actually he should have been allowed to murder whoever he wanted. I apologize for my error.
Just stupid. Just stupid.
Funny.
It's kind of funny. If you know him, it's a lot more like, oh, that's Matt. Like he
hear it in
put
his
that
voice and-
like Borat.
Yeah,
like,
but
almost
these aren't even racial. I want to find one that's like, okay, here we go. The most hilarious mythology on the left is that black women are quiet martyrs forced to carry the burden of the whole human race on their courageous shoulders, totally divorced from reality, but you hear it all the time from these people. Well, he's criticizing the left about black people. He didn't say anything
Can
about
I ask
black
you a
people.
question, since you think that's funny? Like, if somebody made a joke about priests molesting children, would you also joke? Would you laugh about that, sir?
Well, priests don't disproportionately molest children.
No, but they
It'd be a
have in the
dumb
past.
joke.
Would you?
It'd be a
would-
dumb
i-
joke. No,
if
they
it
actually
was
haven't.
Okay,
Teachers.
but hold on. See how
There's no problem with
See how
saying stop
defensive
molesting
he
kids.
gets?
Yeah,
See
I
how
mean,
defensive?
it's not
Oh no,
really-
but that's not true. It hasn't happened.
It's Catholic priests anyway. I'm not Catholic. I'm Orthodox.
Yeah.
So
Those
I don't know.
Wait, what are you?
Orthodox.
Oh, there it
You
is.
know what I'm saying?
I'm Orthodox.
If we made a
We
joke
had
about
an
Bible
Orthodox-
thumpers, right?
we had an
he wouldn't
Orthodox
He
Catholic-
wouldn't laugh about that. He wouldn't think that's funny. But if it's a joke about a black person, the first thing you do is laugh.
Okay, we had a debate
because
between.
there's truth behind the joke. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well,
had
It's
a-
not
wait,
truth
wait,
behind
wait.
that joke. that you
priests
gave.
have molested
Okay.
children in
Okay,
the clergy, haven't they?
We had a
There is
debate.
truth.
We had an Orthodox versus Catholic debate, and it was
Yeah.
the hottest. Like, you think this is agitated? Like, these people were screaming and like.
Yeah, it was Tim Gordon and Jay, right?
And I think so. And they were like reading Latin, and I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah, I think it was Tim
your
Gordon and
Nassim
Jay
Taleb.
Dyer.
What do you
yeah.
think
Right.
about black people?
Bro, what do I think about black
Yeah,
people?
just in general. What
I
do you
like
think?
black
I
people.
think black people are created in the image of God, and I think that they disproportionately commit violent crime. That's just
So the first thing he brings
Well, in
up
the United
is black
States-
people committing crimes.
So the first thing was
I
the
brought up
image
was
of
that they're created
God.
in the image of God, actually.
Yeah.
You just lied about what I said. I said the first thing I said is that they're created in the image of God.
And what was the second thing you said?
Yeah, is it true or false that they disproportionately commit violent crime? Is that a true or false statement?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
Okay, yeah, socioeconomic?
No.
Why?
In Chicago, it's because like you insulted them.
No, I'm refuting
no.
because this is what they
I
like
know.
to say. They like
Yeah,
to say it's socioeconomic.
Yeah, from
in
the
Chicago-
descendants of slaves, they didn't have education, nutrition. So like,
But that's not true
that's only
right now in
7
Chicago.
generations removed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
So
there's a
that's
lot
not
of
true right now in
reasons.
Chicago. They've got clean running water, they got showers, they got houses. They live in a major, massive metro in the wealthiest country on the planet, and they kill each other over insults.
But like their
So,
great
I mean, it's-
grandparents didn't. A lot of times didn't have. Sorry to interrupt, but they didn't
Bro,
have
listen.
education and nutrition.
I have a buddy. I have a buddy from Chicago.
compounding
I have a buddy from Chicago. He's black, and one of the greatest days, man. It was amazing. It was 2008, and we were skating, and I'm sitting down, and I think it's his grandma. She goes, "Are you going to vote for Obama?" And he goes, "I don't know." And she goes, "You gotta vote for Obama. He could be the first black president." And he goes, "Does that mean he's a good president?" And I was like, "Man," I fist bumped. I'm like, "That's what I'm talking about." I don't care if he's black, white, or otherwise. That's how me and my friends were. I didn't care if my friend was black. He was my friend. He didn't care that I was Asian,
That's
white,
not
whatever.
the way everybody thinks, unfortunately. I agree with
and
you,
fuck
but-
those people. Fuck them.
Yeah, I agree.
And so when they say we want the president just because he's black, me and my friends of various racial backgrounds were like, I don't want to live in that world, dude.
Well, I
But,
think
okay.
a lot of black people that said that it was an emotional time for them because they never thought in their lifetime that they would see a black president. So for them, it was a historical monumental moment.
we are over overtime.
Oh, I like
so
talking about mob
I know there's
mentality and
much
emotional
more to
voting.
come. But
We gotta do this again.
we got much more planned. We're actually planning on a Culture War live show tour. So
Nice.
it's the new year. We're planning on bringing the shows we did last year. We're going to do them again this year.
Cool.
It's all getting set up. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll get more of this going. We're going to go for another 3 or 4 hours on all these
could
different
easily.
subjects, and it's a lot of fun. But we are over time. So smash the like button, share the show, subscribe, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Benjamin, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, I'm just at Real Ben Michael on all platforms, primarily X, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 2 o'clock for my show American Orthodoxy over there, where I go over politics and religion, talk about Israel, immigration, and Christianity in culture.
I'm Brian Shapiro. I do not think that all Muslims are terrorists. I'm at
Follow me at not all Muslims.
at PTL Radio Show on YouTube. PushingTheLimits.live is my website, Facebook fan page. Pushing the Limits. I do a show Monday through Friday, and this is day 2 on Timcast. I can't believe it.
It was a hot day too,
Well, it's because
baby.
you were in town yesterday, and he was like, "I'm actually in town already." I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, I guess."
Let's rock. Ian Cross on
I was a
follow me on
more
the internet.
calm Brian Shapiro today than yesterday.
Was it? We'll have to
think
review
so.
the tape to find out.
I want to say, like, Brian's kind of playing the heel and trying to be antagonistic intentionally. And then today he was like, "Did I do too much?" And I'm like, "Just do whatever you want to do." I think people. I mean, obviously, Brian's opinions are his opinions.
Sure.
But I think Brian's trying to be. I don't know what the right word is, but
Spicy.
yeah, he's trying to poke and, as I said, needling you. Needling. He's like, he's trying
Like
to.
when you needle someone at the
Well, now
poker
I know if
table.
I say something in the car that Brian's going to bring it up in the show. Now I got it.
Anyway. What?
Yeah. Well, you know me. Follow me on the internet, baby. Phil Labonte, talk me out.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our music on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, and Deezer. We are playing the Warp Tour in D.C. this Sunday. You can get your tickets at warptour.com. I got a new piece up on my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Phil That Remains. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
He didn't even offer me free tickets.
That's
It's
right,
very
I did.
upsetting. He
That's
knows
right,
I'm in
I did.
town. Didn't even offer me tickets. It's very upsetting.
To be fair, I didn't offer anyone free tickets because it's a
True.
festival, so
Okay, fair enough.
you just
No
give them
backstage
away.
passes. Nothing.
not for the fest.
Gee, man, you talk so much and it's really great. I had to play Ian's lower third like 3 times, like going back and forth. No, man, these last 2 episodes were like probably 2 of my favorite ones.
Really?
I
Wow.
didn't even say anything, so I was like, wow, there's just so much going on right now. Anyway, I'm Carter Banks. You can follow me at Carter Banks everywhere, at Carter Banks Official everywhere else. Labels Trash House Records on YouTube. New song coming out on Juneteenth. And yeah, go check out the trailer. Tim.
We'll make sure to get some more in episodes in the future. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all next time.